Go. We're good on Rumble, YouTube, X, good on Facebook. LinkedIn is pending. Instagram pending. Instagram is on. Good morning, Instagram. TikTok looks like we are working. Let me get this muted. We are good on LinkedIn. We're good on Facebook. We're good on Rumble. Good on YouTube. Good on X. Instagram looks like it is working. And we are live on TikTok. I just got to adjust this so I can see everything. I think we got the framing right. We got the filter right here today. You got to do it before you start the live. Last time I think I did it by accident, and then it got turned off. Now it's back on. So, topic here today, ladies and gentlemen. I already announced this ahead of time. What we were going to be talking about. We are going to talk about oligarchies. Is this an oligarchy that is being currently installed, established, run, served, whatever word we want to use in the current administration in the United States of America? Is this an oligarchy? That is the topic here today. We all know why everybody is saying these things because Donald Trump and Elon Musk are both publicly noted for having a net worth of at least $1 billion. Elon with many, many billions of dollars, maybe even into the hundreds of billions of dollars. So he has a bunch of money. Donald Trump's known for having a bunch of money. And it has been a consistent frame over the last 60 years in American politics that the Republicans are all about helping the people with the money. Or they're actually a bunch of people with money trying to help people with money. That's what the Republicans have been framed as for the last, at least for the last 60 years. And a lot of people have bought into this and a lot of people believe it. Therefore, and this is not even about it's not just about the Republicans, it's just about people in general, especially in Western society. And when people have a whole bunch of money, they often get framed as they got the money by somehow being immoral or bad or using, quote unquote, the people who don't have money. And all they're doing is they're continuing to do that and perpetuating the cycle. So they're collecting more and more money by continuing to do the bad and immoral things that they did to get the money in the first place. And when people do it in the government, then they are calling them an oligarchy. And this is a perfect description that people who are enemies of the current administration can use against Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So today we're going to talk about and discuss if this is indeed what is going on in the current Trump administration, if this is indeed an oligarchy. Let's break it down and figure out if it's true or if it's not. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 40 books with one on the way this week. So it'll be 41 by the end of this week. Just got a couple back end marketing things we got to put in place, but that book's coming out soon. I've done 4 TEDx talks, created this whole company called Work on Your Game. We work with professional entrepreneurs on strategizing, systematizing, and scaling their businesses up from the 6-figure level to the 7-figure level. So if you are a professional entrepreneur making 6 figures or more, doesn't matter what level of 6 figures, this is the place that you want to be. Again, we take the frame that I extracted from my sports background, and we created a 4-pillar program around mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability to help entrepreneurs both in their business life and in your personal life. We do not separate. We don't draw a line between the two. There is a line, but we don't draw that line because what happens in your personal life affects your business. What happens in your business affects your personal life. You can learn more about that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. So the topic here today, as I said, is Trump and Elon and the current administration and oligarchy of a bunch of, first of all, let's get a definition of this word oligarchy. So the term oligarchy refers to a power structure where a small group of individuals wields significant influence over political decisions, often due to immense wealth. Let me read that definition one more time. We're going to decide if this current administration is oligarchy or not. How about y'all put it in the comments? And good morning, everybody checking in over there on Instagram. I didn't see you all's comments when I first started, but I see some of you have jumped in. And Sir Will the Destroyer, good morning to you. Irma V, good morning to you. Chasik, good morning. Omid, good morning. Erica Farrell, good morning to you. So let me say that definition again. Oligarchy is a power structure where a small group of individuals wields significant influence over political decisions, often due to immense wealth. Is this what we have currently? My answer is no. We would have to say no. Now, first of all, if you take out the wealth part, then every time there's an administration, that's an oligarchy because it says a small group of individuals wield significant influence over political decisions. Well, that's called the government. Isn't that what the government is? A small group of individuals, small relative to the country. We have at least 300 million people in the United States of America. The administration is what? How many people? let's just say it's 1,000 people. Even 1,000 is probably not even that many, but even 1,000 out of 300 million is a small group of people, relatively speaking. So the administration is a small group of people who has significant influence over political decisions. I mean, again, that's what we vote for. We vote to give a small group of people significant influence over political decisions. And when we don't like their decisions, what do? We vote again and we change the people who are in there. What's going on, Cynthia, over there on YouTube? So all we do is vote for these people, and they do have a significant influence. But what makes it an oligarchy is they say it's often due to immense wealth. So this becomes very subjective when you say this. The reason that these people have significant influence over political decisions is because of their immense wealth. Well, this is factually untrue. And the reason why Trump has, let's just say Trump and his administration and everybody working in it has significant influence over political decisions is because we elected Donald Trump. Just like before that, we elected Biden. Before that, we elected Trump. Before that, we elected Obama. Before that, we elected George W. Bush. Before that, we elected Bill Clinton. So we elect people to have significant influence over political decisions. Donald Trump did not become president because he has money. He became president because he went and campaigned like everybody else, and he won the election, just like everyone else who's won an election. And if you lose, you lose. So no, he's not there because of his wealth. So people say, well, some people have criticized the current administration by saying, well, Elon put a bunch of money up and quote unquote bought the election for Donald Trump and bought his access. This is not true on several fronts. First of all, Elon came in to work with Doge, which we all know, Department of Government Efficiency. First of all, he came in as a special government employee. For those of you who don't know what that means, that designation means you get 100, I believe it's 130 days out of every 365-day period in which you can work. So Elon is actually about to drop out of Doge within the next month because his 130 days is actually going to be up. So to say that he bought the election also is untrue because the Donald Trump campaign spent significantly less money in the 2024 election cycle than Kamala Harris's campaign did. So if it's all about a bunch of people with immense wealth getting the political influence, then we would have to apply this to everyone who donates money to a political campaign, both on the Republican and the Democratic side. And since we're not doing that, I haven't heard anyone throwing this term oligarchy around since before Donald Trump won the 2024 election. Now all of a sudden it's an oligarchy. Well, what about all the people who donated to Kamala Harris's campaign who have immense wealth? Oprah Winfrey is known as a billionaire, right? Whose side was she on? Beyonce is a billionaire, right? Jay-Z, billionaire, right? Taylor Swift, billionaire. All these people have immense wealth. I think we would all agree that if someone has billionaire status, that we can designate them as having immense wealth. All of these people were looking to gain political influence by lending their name, voice, image, likeness, etc., to the Democratic candidate. Is that not an oligarchy? Had they won, would it have been an oligarchy? Now, had Kamala Harris won the 2024 campaign, would anybody be calling her administration an oligarchy? I don't think so. Even though she spent $1 billion to try to win the election. She didn't win, but had she won, she spent $1 billion to win. Where'd she get $1 billion from? Did she get that from amassing a bunch of $5 and $10 donations from the everyday person? No, she got big donations from people with a lot of money. Is that not oligarchy? Again, I'm breaking this down and beating up this concept of calling it an oligarchy because people are picking and choosing when to use this term. If we're going to use it, then we got to use it all the time. We got to use it fairly. We got to use it evenly, and we got to use it to everyone to whom it applies. It can't just be an oligarchy just because the people you don't like have money and they have power. Well, what if people you like have money and have power? If you're a left-leaning Democratic voter, again, what about these people? Are they not oligarchs? A significant influence over political decisions. And again, this is all very subjective, so it's open to interpretation. But I'm giving you my interpretation of it right here. Often due to immense wealth. And again, in a democratic voting system, usually people get power over political decisions by winning elections. Now, is there a way to better influence your chance of winning an election by using money? The answer is, of course, there is. This is the reason why Kamala Harris had $1 billion to spend during the 2024 campaign. It's the reason why Donald Trump, even though he didn't spend as much as Kamala, he spent a lot. He spent a couple $100 million. That's a lot of money to spend on trying to win an election. And you need money to win elections in the United States of America because we're a capitalistic society. And as soon as you introduce money into the system, then you're going to get some shenanigans that have to do with money. This happens in politics. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people get into politics. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't get into politics, because for the exact same reason, because you get the shenanigans going on as soon as the money is involved. So Elon Musk, which we know, he donated allegedly somewhere between $100 and $130 million. Let's say $130 million to the Trump campaign. He put that $130 million to use to help Donald Trump win the election. I think we all generally agree that that happened. So people are saying that, well, this is just rich people shaping political outcomes. And again, here's my problem with that framing. My problem with that framing is if Kamala Harris had won the election and had somebody give that same amount of money to her campaign publicly and to where we knew who it was and we knew the person, we knew the exact amount, would anybody be saying the same thing about Kamala Harris? Because Kamala Harris took a lot of money from a lot of people, often in big chunks. It's just that whoever those people are, either A, we don't know them as much, therefore they're not as front facing, which means they don't get as much scrutiny for doing what they did to help Kamala, and B, the general media generally in media period, I'm talking mainstream and social media, tends to lean a little bit more to the left. And even if you did not like Kamala Harris, the amount of vitriol that went toward Kamala Harris is nothing compared to the amount of vitriol going towards Donald Trump, which means Donald Trump gets a lot more negative backlash for doing thing A than if Kamala Harris did the exact same thing, which she did. She actually did it bigger than Donald Trump did. She took in a lot more money and spent 2 to 3 times more money in the 2024 campaign. So again, is it not oligarchy for her to try to do that? I think it is, because who was donating money to her? I mean, it's not like she had her own money. So how'd she come up with $1 billion? She got it from somewhere. How'd Joe Biden get a whole bunch of money for his campaign? He didn't get it from him. Right? He's not known as being a billionaire, right? So the money had to come from somewhere. Where'd the money come from? Is that person, whoever that person is that gave money to Biden and gave money to Harris and gave money to Obama, because none of them are noted as being billionaires, right? So where'd they get their money from? Is whoever gave them that money, are those people not oligarchs? Trying to get, and they still have political influence because they influenced, think about it. You don't have to win the election to have political influence. No, you don't have to win. You can lose and have political influence because you even got to the position of being able to run. You got to the final matchup, the final battle, one person versus the other person, by how much money you got from your donors. So again, oligarchy doesn't mean just because you won, you're the oligarch, and the person who lost is the sympathetic figure. This is a false frame. What people are mad about is that the outcome didn't go their way, so they're coming up with these different terms that, again, if they just said it normally, then nobody will buy into it. But they come up with these terms that are great selling points to use with the general public. Excuse me. This has been used with the general public for decades, as I already explained, is that you can take, we just look at the pyramid of the United States of America. Let's just use the United States. You have the few super wealthy people at the top of the pyramid, and then the more money you take away, the more people you get, and going down the pyramid down until we get to the masses of people who are making the average amount of money. Let's say that's somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000 a year. And they are looking up the people at the top of the pyramid, and you have a choice as to how you want to look at these people. Regardless of how much money you make, you have a choice of how you want to look at people who are above you in the pyramid or higher than you on the ladder in any aspect of life. One way to look at it, and these are not the only 2 ways, I'm going to give you 2 ways. I may think of others as I'm speaking here. One way to look at it is to look at them and say, this is what politicians do. Look at them and say, well, these people are only at this higher position than me because they are a bad person and I'm a good person. They are morally bankrupt and I am morally rich. They do things to, They do things to take advantage of other people and extract things from people without giving anything back. Whereas I'm a good person and I don't take advantage of people. And that explains why they're up there with $1 billion and I'm down here with $50,000 a year. That's one way of looking at it. This is what politicians want you to believe, especially politicians on the left. There are some politicians on the right who do the same thing, but generally this has been used by people on the left, especially over the last 10 years, because Donald Trump came in being publicly noted for having a lot of money. So it's very easy to fit him into that frame in a negative way. And there's not really much he can do about it, even though he was able to sell himself to a lot of the everyday Americans, the people making $50,000 a year. I think more of them relate to Donald Trump than they related to Kamala Harris, ironically enough. But at the same time, as soon as he wins, now all of a sudden he's just a rich guy trying to help rich people. Explain how that makes sense. How is he able to win the election by getting the votes of a whole bunch of average bottom of the pyramid Americans? But then as soon as he wins, all of a sudden he's just a rich guy trying to help other rich people make more money. You can't have both at the same time. Both of those can't possibly make sense. But this is exactly the reality that we're dealing with right now. So that's one way you can look at it when you see someone higher up on the ladder or higher up on the pyramid than you are, is that they are just a bad person and I'm a good person. So that's your rationalization, the story you want to tell yourself about why they are where they are and why you are where you are. Another way of looking at it is saying, okay, Well, another way of looking at it is saying, maybe I can get there one day. What do I need to do to step my game up, step my performance up? And maybe I can learn something from watching this person. And maybe one day I can get to a higher level myself. Maybe not all the way where they are, but maybe higher than where I am. That's a way of looking at it too. That's more of an aspirational, ambitious level way of looking at things. Another way of looking at it is maybe you don't have that ambition. Maybe you don't have those aspirations. Maybe you are fine with where you are, but at the same time, you don't have to be negative about people who are higher up. You can say something like, well, hey, Elon has the money that he has. Donald Trump has the money that he has. Oprah has the money that she has. Taylor Swift has the money that she has because of the paths that they chose and the outcomes that they were able to achieve. And as a result, the marketplace has paid them with a bunch of money. That doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with anything. This is just the way things worked out based on the decisions that everybody made and the way the market responded to those decisions. That's the logical and objective way of looking at it. Problem is, most people don't want to do that kind of thinking. This whole concept that has been ingrained in the minds of a whole lot of people in Western society, of anyone who has a whole lot of, let's just say, material wealth. These people somehow must be bad. These people must somehow be exploiting everyone else. These people are using everyone else. You see this all the time. Every day you see more and more of these ideas. This whole idea of companies need to pay a living wage. Well, how is the CEO of this company making this much money, but they can't pay their employees more than XYZ amount every hour? All right, this is nonsense. A living wage is a new age concept that someone came up with very expertly. This is a great idea that someone came up with. I reject the idea, but that doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It's a great idea that someone came up with this idea of a living wage because it frames the amount of money someone making as it needs to hit a certain standard, when that's nonsense. That's not the way the economy works. It's not the way the marketplace works. Years ago, I was standing at the front desk in my building, and this young lady who was working at the front desk, very nice girl, she's probably 20 years old. She was asking me, did I know anyone who was hiring for a job? Because she was looking for a better job. And I was asking her, well, no, why are you looking for a better job? She had a job. She worked the front desk of the building. And she said, well, I got this job, but this job only pays X number of dollars per hour, like whatever it was, whatever number of dollars per hour is not enough. And she was looking to make some more money so she could get her own place and do X, Y, Z. And we're conversing. And finally I asked her, well, how much money do you need to make? And she thought about it for a second, and she said, a living wage. That's the number. That's what she said. She didn't give me a number. She said a living wage. And I asked a couple more questions. Turned out she was looking for somewhere around the $20 to $25 an hour range. Excuse me. I'm explaining all that to help you understand. Now, she's like 20 years old. So she's from this era where she has been conditioned to believe that because she has a job, she is somehow, some way entitled to receiving a certain amount of money such that it can cover the lifestyle that she wants to live. That's what a living wage is. The concept of a living wage is bullshit. There's no such thing as a living wage. All right, you earn what you are worth in the marketplace. That's how the marketplace works. You earn what you are worth. And what you are worth is based on what you either accept, what you are able to negotiate, or what you can demand from the market. That's it. That's how you make money. You not make money based on, my lifestyle costs $1,000 a month, so my job has to pay me $1,000 a month. No, it doesn't. If you are worth $500 a month in the marketplace, then you're going to be $500 short of your lifestyle needs. And that is not the responsibility of your job. That is the responsibility of you to make yourself more valuable in the marketplace so that you can get the money that you want. That's how it works. How does a billionaire become a billionaire? These people who are called, quote unquote, the rich. How do they get there? By offering solutions to problems that reach masses of people, and therefore the marketplace responds to their solution to the problem by giving them money. This is the way the open market works. Open market commandment is one of the 12 work on your game commandments that is covered in this book right here. 12 work on your game commandments. The open marketplace commandment is, what number is that? Open marketplace is number 7. Marketplace results is that you are what the marketplace says you are. And if you are only able to get $500 a month from your job from the marketplace, then that's what you're worth. Now, if you believe your worth is more than $500 a month, then you got a couple options. One, maybe you go get a different job. Maybe the job you have is just it's not even undervaluing you. It's just the job only pays what it pays. Maybe you have a job that only pays a certain amount. So if you work somewhere and they only pay $10 an hour and they don't pay anybody more than $10 an hour, but you believe you're worth 20, then the problem is you're working at the wrong job. There's nothing wrong with the job. The job is a job. This is a $10 hour job. So if you believe you're worth 20, you need to go work somewhere that pays $20 an hour. So maybe you need to go find a new job. And if you find a new job that pays $20 an hour and they are willing to hire you, then guess what? You just went from being worth $10 to being worth $20. That is the way the marketplace works, by objective outcomes, not by what you say. And if you're making $10 an hour and you believe you're worth 20, and then you go to the places that will pay 20 and you apply and you get interviewed and they evaluate you and they don't hire you, then the marketplace is telling you something loud and clear. Maybe you are not worth 20, even though you think you are. Marketplace results. I just told you. I just showed it to you right here. You are what the marketplace tells you are, not what you say you are, not what some politician tells you should believe. That's all nonsense. Elon Musk, let's use him as an example, or you can use Beyonce, or you can use Oprah or Taylor Swift or whoever your favorite quote unquote billionaire is. All right, these people got to the position that they're in because they offer something to the marketplace that the marketplace responded to very strongly by being willing to exchange money for the product, service, idea, image, whatever it is the person was putting out there. That's how you get there. Now, of course, there are some strategic moves you make along the way and systems you can put in place, but generally, the point that I'm making here, all of you understand this. Do you not? All right, this is the way that it works. So this whole concept of you deserve a certain amount because this is just who you are, or this is where you live, or this is how much life costs. I understand that that's a real thing. It is a real thing that the cost of life goes up. And depending on where you live, the cost of living can be higher or lower. Therefore, you want to work somewhere that at least can cover your lifestyle expenses so you can cover your food, clothing, shelter as an adult. Who wouldn't want to do that? If you have kids, you got to take care of them too. Absolutely. Everybody needs this. That does not mean that the job is the first line of defense and responsibility for that situation. First line of defense is you, the human. You are the first line of defense. So if your lifestyle costs $2,000 a month and you have a job that is paying you $2,000, $3,000 a month, keep the math simple. So your lifestyle costs $2,000, your job's paying you $3,000. You're good, right? So you got $1,000 surplus every month. Assume you're good with that. Then all of a sudden your lifestyle costs go up. Your insurance starts costing more, childcare costs more, your rent and your mortgage costs more, your car payment is more, everything goes up. And now your lifestyle went from being $2,000 a month to being $4,000 a month. Your lifestyle costs just doubled because prices just went up, and inflation happens. Prices do go up. Maybe not that much, but let's just keep the math simple and say now your lifestyle costs $4,000 a month, but you're still working somewhere that pays $3,000 a month. You got $1,000 shortfall every month, and that's a problem. The first thing you need to do is not go to your job or look at your industry and say this industry needs to pay more money because this is no longer a living wage. Lifestyle costs have gone up, therefore the wages need to go up. That is not the way life works, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't work that way. Wages do not go up as fast as inflation. Let's just say that. This is what a lot of politicians will tell you, that wages need to go up at the same pace that inflation is going up, because if life costs more, then that means people who have jobs need to get paid more so they can keep up with this increased cost of life. Bullshit. No, they don't. Jobs do not need to pay you more just because the cost of your life has gone up. Understand. Any of you who's a business owner, you should understand this very well. Even if you're not a business owner, you need to understand this. You do not pay your employees more than what they are worth, because if you do, then you're going to go out of business. If you have an employee who's worth $10 an hour, but you pay them $20 an hour because it's out of the kindness of your heart, or because you believe they need a living wage, quote unquote, or because someone shamed you into doing it, you are soon going to go out of business. And let me give you a simple math lesson to help you understand this. So let's say I run a coffee shop, Dre's Coffee Shop. I'm competing with Starbucks. All right, so I got my coffee shop and I have 3 employees and I'm paying each one of them $10 an hour. And they come to me because they were watching some idiot on YouTube, not me, but some other idiot on YouTube. And that person said, not even YouTube, they were watching the 90-second video on TikTok. Let's just use TikTok. So they watched some 90-second video on TikTok where they were convinced to believe that they are now worth not $10 an hour anymore, but they're actually worth $15 an hour because their living expenses have gone up and inflation is always going up, and they deserve a living wage. So they start following some fool on TikTok who has convinced them that they're worth $15 an hour, even though I'm paying them 10. So they band together. They come to me before work one day and they say, hey, Mr. Dre, Mr. Boss Dre, we need $15 an hour now. $10 an hour is no longer acceptable. And I ask them, what do they mean? And they say, well, we need a living wage and lifestyle costs this. And they show me the TikTok video and all of that stuff. Now, let's say that I believe they are not worth $15 an hour. I believe they're worth 10. They believe they're worth 15. And let's say that I am an idiot and I get shamed into paying them $15 an hour. So my hourly costs for my hourly labor costs, paying my staff used to be $30 an hour, right? $10 times 3 people. Everybody following my math? I used to spend $30 an hour to pay these people, and based on their level of performance, based on what they can do, that made sense for me, because out of the $30 I spent every month paying them, I was able to generate, let's say, $40 an hour from their labor. So their $30 of labor that I paid for generated $40 worth of revenue. Therefore, I was making a $10 profit off of my 3 employees. Now, some people may say, well, you're making money, quote unquote, off the backs of your employees. Well, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's why I'm the one who put up the money to start the business in the first place. I put $50,000 on the table to start my business with no guarantee I was going to make that money back. I took the risk, which by definition makes me an entrepreneur, which means I'm the one who gets to participate in the upside. That's the way it works. So when anyone ever says some nonsense like entrepreneurs or people like Elon Musk are making money, quote unquote, off the backs of the people who work for them, that's what the fuck they're supposed to do. They're the ones who put the money up. Of course they're supposed to make money. That's the point. I put the money up front with no guarantee I was going to make my money back. That is risk. The financial risk that I took is what by definition makes me an entrepreneur. You being an employee, you came in and you're not taking any risk, because if the business goes under, you could just take your $10 an hour value and go get a different job serving coffee somewhere else. You lose nothing if I go out of business. If I go out of business, I lose my $50,000. I'm taking much more risk than you. Therefore, when we win, I get the biggest piece of chicken. You understand? I.e., I get to make the most money. That's the way it works. So again, a lot of people have been sold this nonsense concept that employees are basically equal with the business owners when money gets made. No, you are not. Not unless you put some money down up front and you risk your money. If you didn't risk any money, you don't get to participate in all of the upside. If the company wants you to participate, then they have the right to do that. But if they don't want you to, they have a right to do that as well. Now, continuing on in my example. So I got 3 employees. They make $10 an hour. So every hour I'm spending $30 to pay them, and I'm making $40 off their efforts. This is by my calculations. I'm making $40 off their efforts, $10 profit. This is good. I can keep having these people work for me. But one day they come to me and say, Dre, we need $15 an hour. Now, all I got to do is some simple math. If I pay each one of these employees $15 an hour, every hour now, my labor expense is $45. But here's the problem. These people are still producing at the exact same level they were before. All that changes that I'm paying them more money. So I'm paying them more money for the exact same output. Again, this is bad math. Now, I'm still making $40 revenue off their effort every hour, but I'm paying $45, which means every hour I'm losing $5. You understand? Every hour I'm losing $5 because my labor expense is now $45 an hour, but my revenue off their efforts is only $40. I will go out of business if I keep having these people work for me. Now, again, it's $5 an hour. So, I mean, how many hours would I have to go before I got there? The point is, this is a slippery slope. I don't want to go here, because what if I want to expand my operations? Well, now I've set the standard that I pay people $15 an hour. How many more $10 workers can I hire and pay $15 before eventually I'm underwater financially? Because I'm paying people more than they are actually worth and more than they actually produce. This is the problem that politicians can't tell you about. And it wouldn't be a good idea for them to tell you about, but I'll tell you about. Because when people run businesses, these are calculations that have to be made. Are you worth what you're asking for? And if you're not worth it, you ain't getting it. So anyone out there complaining about a living wage, often they're complaining about a living wage because they aren't able to get from the marketplace. They cannot command from the marketplace the amount of money that they want. That is not because the marketplace is doing anything wrong. The marketplace is never wrong. There's no such thing as the marketplace being wrong. That's an oxymoron. The marketplace is always right because it tells you loud and clear how it values you. Now, maybe you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong area of the marketplace. The United States of America is a big place. You could be in Miami and not getting the results you want. Okay, well, why don't you move to Chicago? Maybe in Chicago, things pop off for you. It's not working in Chicago, go to Detroit. It's not working in Detroit, go to Austin. Not working in Austin, go to Knoxville. Not working in Knoxville, go to Vegas. Not working in Vegas, go to Seattle. So you can go to different areas of the marketplace and get different outcomes. Is this true? Of course it's true. All right, there are different areas of the marketplace in which the outcomes are different, even though you are the exact same person. So your job is to strategically, 2 things. Number one, strategically figure out where in the marketplace do I need to go and offer what I'm offering to get the outcome that I want. That's number one. And number 2, how do I step up my game, my performance, my skill set, such that whatever I do bring to the marketplace is valued at the level at which I want it to be valued. So you need to be doing both things. Number one, working on your game so that you actually have, well, let me say it in the order that I just did it. Number one, going to the right place so that whatever you bring to the table is valued properly, in your eyes properly. And number 2, working on your game so that you are actually adding value wherever you go. And I'm going to answer questions and comments at the end, by the way, for anybody leaving them while I'm talking. I'm on 3 different cameras right here and 7 different platforms. So this is what actually needs to happen. And again, Donald Trump wouldn't explain this to you. Elon Musk will not explain this. And no left-leaning politician is going to explain this either. This is the reason why I'm in the marketplace, to help you all understand this stuff that nobody else is going to tell you. So no one will have an issue, again, with this whole concept of quote-unquote oligarchs controlling everything. And oligarchs don't control everything. They pay you what you accept, what you negotiate, or what you demand. That is the way the marketplace works. There's only three ways anyone in this room listening to me right now makes money. Everyone's listening to me right now. There's only three ways you can make money. They offer you something, you accept it. They offer you something, you negotiate, or you make a demand, and they either meet it or they don't meet it. There's no other way to make money in life. Accept, negotiate, and demand. So if you work for Amazon, for example, and you hear that Jeff Bezos is worth, who knows, $200 billion, whatever it is, and you're making $20 an hour, you're mad because you believe that $20 an hour is not a proper living wage for you. You're like, how is this guy making all this money off my back? He's not making money off your back. You're making money off his back, as a matter of fact. And again, no politician will tell you this. Business owners are not making money off the backs of their employees. This is a false frame. What's actually happening is that the employees are making money off the backs of the business owner. And I'll tell you why. Because the business owner is the one who puts the money up and takes all the financial risk in order to run that business. He's taking the financial risk by even hiring you, because you might not be any good, and hiring you might not solve all the problems that need to be solved. They may not get any customers, but I still got to pay you. If I make no sales today and I got an employee, I still got to pay my employee whether I made sales or not, right? Because if you only get paid when I get paid, then now you're partaking in the risk. Now you can ask for some of the upside. How many employees willing to do that? Not too many, right? So the person who's making money off someone else's back is the employee, not the business owner. Because you get paid no matter what happens. No matter what happens, you're getting paid. If our stock price takes a hit, you still get paid. If we have no customers, you still get paid. If we lose a whole bunch of our inventory in a flood, and now I got to spend more money to replace that inventory, you still get paid. If I don't get to take a paycheck because our business is not turning a profit, but you're still on my payroll, you still get paid. So who's making money off who's back here? The employee or the business owner? Sounds like the employee to me. Sounds like the employee is the one making money off the back of the business owner, not the business owner making money off the back of the employee. And anyway, if the business owner is making money off of your back, then quit. That means he's going to stop making money, right? If you believe as an employee the business owner is making money off your back, ask yourself this question. If you quit and stop working there, would the business owner stop making money? If the answer is no, which it obviously is, the answer is no, because they would still make money without you. They can just replace you and find somebody else to do your job, or they would still keep running the business, maybe just without an employee. So how replaceable are you? There's another piece of the marketplace equation. The less replaceable you are, the more value you have in the marketplace. So when I told you there's three ways to make money: accept, negotiate, and demand. The only way you can be at the demand level is when you are not replaceable. When it's not easy to replace you with somebody else, then you're at the demand level. So speaking of, let's say if you wanted Taylor Swift. If I want Taylor Swift to sing at my birthday party, there's only one Taylor Swift. So if I can't get Taylor Swift to come to my party, there is no equivalent replacement for Taylor Swift. There's no all right, we can't get Taylor, but we can get this person. It ain't the same. You either get Taylor Swift or you get nothing compared to Taylor Swift. And that's why she can demand. She can say, this is the price. This is what I'll do. This is what I won't do. Here's when I'm available. Yes or no. She's demanding. This is not negotiation. When you're irreplaceable, you don't have to negotiate. And you can just walk away and tell people no, because they can't replace you with something else. Now, if you're working at the Amazon factory and you're putting lotion in a yellow envelope so it can get shipped out to Kentucky, well, you're replaceable, because as soon as you quit, they'll just replace you with somebody else. And before long, they're going to replace all of you with robots. There won't be anybody working there. And let's see what your living wage is then. This is the game that we're actually in, folks. And again, politicians can't tell you this, because even though it's true, can't tell you this because who's going to vote for them? They tell you the truth. So Elon Musk, getting back to where I was, Elon Musk, what we're talking about here today is the current administration oligarchy. Elon has a role in the administration. Fine. A lot of people have roles in every administration. The fact that he's a billionaire compounds what people see as the problem. They think, well, it's just a bunch of rich people helping each other out. Again, do people actually believe that? I hope not. I hope there's no one listening to me right now who actually believes this. That's not what's happening. The problem with the problem is that Elon is contributing his expertise in an area in which he actually made money. Did y'all see the interview where Fox News was talking to the guys from Doge? So it was Elon, who's, again, he only has 130 days and he's going to be out. But then there's a bunch of these other guys. I can't remember what all of them do. One of them was as an actual what was it? A rocket scientist, one of them, or a brain surgeon, one of those. Now people say it's not rocket science. This guy's actually a rocket scientist. I believe it was either a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon. You got the guy who's the head of Airbnb. These are people who are really smart. They solved really big, complex problems for lots of people, and this is how they get to making a lot of money. The way you build a big business in life is you solve a serious problem for a whole bunch of people, or you just solve a problem, period. It doesn't have to be serious. Just solve a problem for a whole bunch of people. McDonald's, for example, solved the problem for billions of people. That's the reason why McDonald's is McDonald's. Elon Musk became who he is and acquired his status because he figured out a problem that a lot of people had and he solved it. The problem was people want electric vehicles. A lot of people didn't know they want electric vehicles until he made it. He made an electric vehicle. How many people do you see driving Teslas? A lot of people drive Teslas. Now he's addressing the problem of the internet with Starlink. Or internet access with Starlink, easy internet access with Starlink. Then he addressed the problem of outer space, whatever's going on in outer space. Not a problem to me, but it is a problem to a lot of people who are willing to spend money on it. He's solving that problem. This is the reason why Elon is Elon. So he's taking his expertise, which is solving big problems for masses of people. He's applying it to the government. What's wrong with that? Who has a problem with that? He's taking his expertise of solving problems for masses of people, and now it's a problem. Why? Just because he has a lot of money? Well, the reason that he has a lot of money because he solved a whole bunch of problems for a lot of people. That's how you make money. Again, that's how Oprah made money. Oprah solved the problem of women and some men, but mostly women, wanting to sit and listen to a heartfelt, heart-to-heart conversation between two people, and Oprah solved that problem. That's how she became a billionaire. That's the core offering that Oprah brought to the table. That's how she became a billionaire. Taylor Swift and Beyonce solved the problem of people wanting some music to listen to. They solved it, and now they got a whole bunch of money. Again, why is it a problem? Just because somebody has a lot of money does not mean that they did something wrong to you, him, her, or anybody else out there. People should be happy that someone who has used a certain level of expertise to become a billionaire is now donating that expertise to the government to solve problems for everyday people, and you don't even have to pay. All right, if you really wanted Elon to focus his energy and his expertise on your life, you know how much money you would have to pay him? You probably couldn't pay him. He probably wouldn't even make you an offer because it's like the amount of money I would ask you for, sir, is more than you probably have. And I wouldn't even feel right taking all your money. But he's giving it away for free. He's donating it to the American people, and people are finding ways to be mad about this. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about partisan politics. Because there's a lot of Democrats out there who, if they really thought about, and who knows, maybe some of them have, what Elon's actually doing here, which is what I just explained, what problem could they possibly have with it? Problem they have with it is, as I've already explained when I talked about this a couple weeks ago, is that Elon and his Doge are looking into where some money is moving around and going into the pockets of people who otherwise may not be getting that money if they catch it and get rid of it. That's the problem that they really have, but they can't say that because then they would look bad to the public. So what they do is they frame it as if Elon's the bad guy, and then they just keep selling you that idea over and over and over and over again. They say it so many times that eventually you come to accept it. Y'all saw the clip. Maybe some of you saw that clip of Nancy Pelosi talking about this. They call it the smear. It was another word she used. I forget the other word she used in the phrase, but it's the smear. You basically you craft a negative story about a person, and then you go to all the media outlets and give them the negative story, and then they all go put the negative story out there because it's sensational. The reason they put it out is because it draws clicks, and they're in the business of clicks. If it bleeds, it leads. They go share the negative story, and then so many people keep passing around a negative story that eventually the everyday person comes to believe the negative story, even though the whole thing is a lie. And now by the time that person comes out, by the time that person who's being smeared comes out and puts their face out to the world, everybody's trashing them because they've heard the negative story so many times. And the whole time, the whole story was complete nonsense. It was completely fabricated. And that's what Nancy Pelosi, she talked about doing this politically. It's part of the political apparatus is that you do this. Democrats do it to Republicans. Republicans do it to Democrats. Democrats seem to have mastered it a lot better than Republicans, especially when it comes to Donald Trump. They smeared the hell out of Donald Trump. The problem is they went overboard. They overplayed their hand and it backfired. And that's the reason why he won in 2024. They overplayed the smear to the point that it became too obvious what they were doing. Now, had they done it with the right amount of touch, he would not have won. Had he done it with the right amount of touch, he actually might be incarcerated right now. But because they overdid it, now we're here. So someone who's able to become a billionaire based off expertise and lending that expertise to the public sector should never be an issue. So how this got framed this way is not beyond me, but it is beyond me. Policy cuts favoring the wealthy. This is what some people say. Well, Elon and Trump and them, they're just going to create rules and laws and policies that favor people who have a whole bunch of money. I disagree with this framing as, again, I already explained this a couple of days ago. The wealthy are wealthy because of their habits and their behaviors, not because of the government. The government cannot make somebody, they can't manufacture wealth in another person. They can give money to a person, but they cannot manufacture wealth, and they cannot manufacture destitution or being poor in another person. Now, they could contribute, but they can't make you that. The government cannot make you poor. The government cannot make you rich. They can't make you wealthy. All right. People who have money, again, I've already explained this many times, but let me explain it very simply, that the United States government, the tax code in the United States government gives tax breaks to business owners. And the reason they give tax breaks to business owners is because business owners create companies that need staff. And when you fill staff positions, what are you doing? You're creating jobs. Notice how all politicians always brag about creating jobs and how they have low unemployment. The reason why the government is so excited about low unemployment and people having jobs is because people who have jobs are W-2 classified in the tax system. And that means every time you get paid, you get a paycheck. Any of you who is a W-2 employee, you understand every time you get paid, there's a check that you get, or let's say a direct deposit, probably for most of you, and there's a pay stub. If any of you ever looked at your pay stub, you understand that a whole bunch of deductions get taken out of your check before you even touch the money. Those are your taxes. And you understand that when you get your tax refund every year, that your refund is not all of the money that was taken out. It's only a small percentage of the money that was taken out, less than half of the money that was taken out. Now, why does the government care about any of this? The government cares about that because when they tax you as an employee, they get to take your money from you before you have a say in what you do with your own money. It's much harder to get money from people who have to pay taxes on their own volition than it is to get money from people who have to pay taxes and it's completely involuntary. I.e., as a business owner, for example, I have to do taxes and pay my taxes every year. Government does not collect taxes from me when I make money over the course of a year. But then every year when I do my taxes, we go through everything and then it's this is the money you have to pay to the government. Pay your taxes now. And the thing is, I have many different options of taking deductions and breaks and credits in such a way that I can manufacture and lower that tax bill to as low as I possibly can. And I'm going to do that all the time. Same thing Donald Trump said when he was debating Hillary in 2016. Hillary said, well, Donald Trump pays zero income taxes. Donald Trump said, that's smart. Why would I want to pay income tax? Exactly. Why would I want to pay income tax? Nobody wants to pay income tax. Only people who pay income tax involuntarily are employees because the government takes it from you and it's not a negotiation. They just take it. Before you get paid, if you have a job that says we're going to pay you $1,000 a week, you get a direct deposit is only $750. Where's that $250? The government took it from you. They just take it. And they love being able to take people's money without having to talk to you about it. Because see, when I do my taxes, there's a conversation between me and the government over how much money I'm going to give them, how much I'm not going to give them. There's a conversation. And it takes a lot longer time to get money from someone when you have to have a conversation first than if you could just take it from them and you only have to talk to them. Do you agree? What's the easier way to get money? Just take it from somebody or you got to talk to them first? Because if you have to talk to somebody, then they might talk you out of taking their money. But see, if we don't got to talk, I can just take it out of your hands before you even touch it. You don't even know the money was coming. I just took it and you can't do anything. Again, which way would you like to make money? Again, this is what the government does. This is why they love employees. And what does that have to do with Elon Musk? The government loves employees because they love business owners because people like Elon and Jeff Bezos and Oprah Winfrey and Beyonce, they have staff. So all these people have staff. Taylor Swift, they got a staff. They love business owners because business owners create jobs. Jobs mean W-2s, and W-2 means the government can take your money without a conversation. That's why they give breaks to business owners. If you don't want the government taking your money without a conversation, you have to start a business. All right, there's no other side to this. There's no inverse to this point. Or you could just actually, no, if you got a job, they're going to take your money. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. They just take it. This is part of the law. They just take your money. If you don't want them to do that, start a business. As long as you have a job, they're taking your money right off the top. So these policy cuts that favor the wealthy, I want to let you all in on a secret. Every president does this. Every president creates policies and they push for laws that favor people who have a whole bunch of money because people who have a whole bunch of money, all of them do it through business ownership or business investing, one or the other. There's not a single wealthy person you can name who did it through anything other than either owning a business or investing in business. It's usually a combination of both. Every single person you can name. Go get the Forbes 400 magazine. Do they still put that out as a magazine or is it just online now? But you go get the Forbes 400 magazine and you start leafing through it and reading the names on there. 98% of them, you will not know who they are. Actually, 99% of people on that list, you will have never heard of them. No, let me not say 99%. That's like 396 people. I'll say 92% of people on the Forbes 400 list, you never heard of them before. And they work to keep it that way. And there's a bunch of people not on that list who should be on the list, but they're not on the list because they want to make sure that their name is not published in any magazine noted for having a bunch of money because they don't want everybody to know they have money. All right? Most people who have that kind of money are not like rappers and athletes telling you what they got. Most people are not like that. So you'll get the Forbes 400 list. All of those people either have invested in businesses or they own businesses, or usually both. None of them got it through just working somewhere and collecting their checks and getting the 1% interest from their savings account at the bank. That didn't happen. The government gives these people breaks because these people make the economy the economy. The economy exists because people are exchanging money. The economy means exchanges of money. When we have a strong economy, it just means a lot of people are just buying and selling stuff. Everybody's just taking their money, spending it, taking their money, spending it. And people are happy to keep spending money because they're optimistic about the future. And they're optimistic about the fact that they'll make more money tomorrow. So I'm okay with spending money today. When people are pessimistic about the future, I'm not sure I'm going to make any money tomorrow. Let me hold on to the money I have today. And nobody's spending. The economy slows down. That's what we call a recession or a depression, when nobody's spending any money. But when everybody's excited and feeling good about the future, people have no problem spending money. And if you have a job, you have money to spend. That's why the government loves wealthy people, because wealthy people are the ones who create jobs. So the policy cuts that go to quote unquote wealthy people or quote unquote the rich or quote unquote billionaires are done on purpose because they're the reason that we have an economy. Democrats do it too. They just, again, it doesn't go on the news when they do a tax cut for people who have a whole lot of money. Now, you may have your Obamas and your Bidens and your Kamalas and Hillary pay their fair share. That sounds good in a speech. That's what they say to y'all so that y'all think that they're doing one thing, but they actually do a completely different thing. Because if they were to actually try to do this whole taxing the rich and pay your fair share, all the people with all the money and the jobs that they create that employ you and your family members and your community and people, your neighbors, all those wealthy people will do is take their jobs and move them outside of the country and move them into places to where now there are no more employees. So there's a bunch of people with no job now. Now the economy is really going to slow down because you don't have any money, because you don't have a job. You're not getting paid. They would move their manufacturing to other places. They would still have the products and services to sell to you, but they're doing it outside the country and just bringing it in and sell it to you. And this is why Trump is coming in with the tariffs thing. He's trying to get them, he's trying to entice these people to bring their businesses back to America, bring their factories back to America, bring jobs back to America, was what means more employees. And Donald Trump says the trade-off of this, all you need to understand, first three laws of economics: supply and demand, diminished marginal return, trade-offs. The third law of economics is trade-offs. Everything has a cost. So when Donald Trump tells businesses, bring your manufacturing and your jobs back to America, wealthy people, Elon Musk, do your business here in America, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, do all your business in America, hire a bunch of Americans, Bill Gates, Oprah, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, because these rules apply to the Democrats the same way they apply to Republican voters. He says the trade-off of that, in exchange for you bringing your jobs back here and spending more money on manufacturing, spending more money on employees, because they cost more to hire an employee in America than it costs to hire an employee in Brazil or one of these other smaller countries. In exchange for you increasing your costs, Mr. Business Owner, this is Donald Trump talking to them, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a break on your taxes. So then people hear that and they say, oh, Donald Trump's just trying to help the rich people. Let's see, they're only telling you half the story. He's not just trying to help the rich people. What he's doing is helping the economy by giving rich people, business owners, breaks in their taxes in exchange for them using more money to hire people and do their manufacturing in the United States of America. See, if politicians told you the truth, then all this stuff that people get excited about, this would be a moot point. I wouldn't even have to talk about this if they told you the truth. If the mainstream media told you the truth, I wouldn't even have to talk about this because they would already told you everything I just told you. But they don't tell you. So that creates an opening in the marketplace for somebody like me to step in and set everybody straight so y'all understand what's actually happening. Because any person who is being taxed too much, who has a lot of resources, they will just find a way to not get taxed. Now, this is the reason why the accounting industry exists. Well, not the only reason, but tax accountants, the reason they exist is to help people with a whole lot of money keep their money. Keeping their money, i.e. not giving it to the government. So whatever we got to do to not give money to the government, they're going to do it. And if they ultimately decide they're going to take their businesses out of America, well, that's your job that's getting lost. So don't get excited when you hear some politician talking about taxing the rich and they got to pay their fair share. Don't get excited by that. especially those of you who are W-2 employees. If your main source of income is the job that you have, you should not get excited when a Democratic politician talks about we're going to make rich people and billionaires pay their fair share, because the trickle down of that decision is that you might lose your job. And again, no Democratic politician can tell you that, but it's the truth. No Republicans don't even tell you that. See, they don't have the time to actually go into the detail the way that I'm doing. And honestly, just to keep it real, most of them couldn't explain it at the level that I'm explaining it. But this is the truth. And if I got something wrong when I get to the comments, y'all can let me know. But poor people are not poor because of billionaires, quote unquote billionaires. I talked about this, I think it was earlier this week, or was it this week? No, maybe last week I was talking about this. Poor people do not become poor because billionaires made them poor. That's complete nonsense. Poor people are poor because that's who they are. Poor is a mindset, is not a state. Broke is a state. You don't have any money, you're broke. But you can have a rich mindset and be broke. Lil Wayne had a line in one of his songs, and I think it was a Nicki Minaj song. He said, I could be broke and keep $1 million smile. You could be broke and still be in the right frame of mind. This is how Donald Trump was able to be billions of dollars in debt and then get rich again, because of his mindset. Not because somebody just went and handed him some money. But when you're poor, you can have a bunch of money and still be poor because of your mindset. You'll find a way to go broke again and then be poor because your mindset. This is why people who are generally broke or poor win the lottery and then they become poor again 5 years later. This is why many athletes and entertainers make a whole bunch of money from their entertainment, sport, etc. But then after their career ends, they end up broke all over again like they were before they became the entertainer or the athlete, because their mindset never changed. Their financial state changed, but their mindset never changed. If your financial state changes, it increases, but your mindset never evolves to match it, you will find a way to go back financially to where you were before. That's just a law of human nature. Poor people become poor because they are mentally and physically lazy, and because they have a mindset that keeps them mentally and physically lazy. So they will easily accept any argument that their situation is not their fault and not their responsibility. Just leave it to a politician who will solve all your problems. All right, people have been falling for this nonsense for decades. Please don't be one of them. That's all I suggest to you. All right, you can't stop this from being a thing. Politicians will always preach this, that you're not where you want to be financially because of these few billionaires up there. You, hundreds of millions of people, are where you are because the 20 billionaires that you know about, they're making all the money and you're not, and they will rile up 100 million people based on that alone. That will always be the case. That will always work. All right, that will never go away. All I'm suggesting to you is you not be one of these 100 million people that's being convinced by the nonsense. That's all I'm telling you. Just opt out of the game. But don't try to save everybody. All right, you're not Jesus. All right, the system of checks and balances is still in place. All right, even with Elon and Trump at the helm, which if you follow politics even loosely, you know that every time they try to do something, they get taken to court. Y'all keep seeing this. They keep going to court, and these circuit judges are trying to stop or allegedly stopping Elon and Trump from doing the things that they want to do. Every day there's a new court case. All right, the system is designed to do this. So we can't say that these guys are oligarchs with unchecked power, because they don't have unchecked power. Every time they try to do something, they're getting checked. So we can't say they have unchecked power. Now, they're trying, and there's a fight. There's a back and forth. And again, all of this is just costing us, everyday citizen who's not involved in politics. We're the ones who lose in this process because they're out there fighting. You think that one side is fighting for you or one side is fighting. They're all just fighting with each other. This is all political theater that is costing time, the most valuable resource all of us have. Nothing's getting done, and nobody wins in this process. That's what actually happens. And that's what actually happens is nobody wins. All this time is getting spent and no progress is being made on either side. They're just fighting with each other and using the internet as a way of telling you what, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then there's all this back and forth and nothing actually gets done. So who gets screwed in this whole process? The everyday person. All right, this is what Trump meant when he said draining the swamp. And right now he's trying to drain the swamp and the alligators are fighting back. That's what's happening. So Elon, I think we can agree, again, even if you don't like Elon, you would have to agree with this if we're talking logically. He is all about advancing the growth of society. And I would bet that Elon is not in the government because he's trying to attain financial or political power, because he already has power. Everybody knew who he was before he got involved in politics. Why would you get involved in politics and donate your resources, your most valuable resources, your time and your knowledge and your expertise? These are very valuable things for somebody like Elon Musk. His knowledge and expertise are why he is who he is. Why would you donate those to the government? Why? Why do this? The reason that he got involved in politics, a lot of people don't notice, is because he was facing some scrutiny from some left-leaning politicians. Let's just say the previous administration. Elon has said this himself. He was facing some scrutiny based on his companies from the Biden administration. And they were kind of looking into and trying to come up with ways to go at him and basically take him to court. And if you get sued by the government and end up losing, which most of the time you do end up losing, the amount of money you have to pay off that settlement can decimate a company. And the Biden administration was snooping around Elon's companies, and it looked like they were trying to find a way to do that to him. And that's when Elon said, oh, hell no, they're not going to do this to me. He fought back. That's what led to him buying Twitter and turning it into X. That's what led to him donating all that money to Trump and saying, okay, I'm MAGA, I'm politically right. Everybody knows Elon Musk is from Silicon Valley. Well, he's not from there, but y'all know what I mean. His roots, when we first heard of Elon Musk, he was in Silicon Valley. He was in San Francisco with PayPal, was a very left-leaning company. And then he built Tesla in California. Elon Musk was a leftist. He was left, way left, until all this stuff started happening. Then he jumped to the right because he didn't like what the left was doing. Elon Musk is not some born and raised a conservative. He's not even really a conservative. Neither is Donald Trump. So people, again, those of you who buy into this political stuff, this left and right stuff, this is all theater, folks. Elon Musk is from Silicon Valley. Any of you been to Silicon Valley? Ain't no conservatives walking around Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is as far left as you can get, like literally far left. Look at the map. It's all the way over there to the left. Silicon Valley. I've been to Silicon Valley. Beautiful place. Very clean. One of the cleanest areas in America I've ever seen is that area of Silicon Valley. That's where Elon was at. How did he end up supporting Donald Trump coming from Silicon Valley and PayPal? I just told you how it ended up happening. Anyway, wealthy people, folks, have always played a role in politics. This is not new. The way politics was originally designed and what was originally supposed to happen is that only the landowners were supposed to be the voters. That was how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like one household or one slab of land. That was the vote. So if it's one slab of land with one owner, and let's say he has a wife and kids, there was one vote from that home was one vote. That's the way it was supposed to be. And these are wealthy people were generally the people who own land back in the day. That's what it was. Owning land was the main thing to own. Nowadays, you can own things that are intangible and they become valuable as well. But at that time, it was just land. So only difference, and they would often play a role behind the scenes. They wouldn't be famous because, again, we didn't have the internet back then. So you know a few names, but generally, these people played a role behind the scenes. They would flex their muscles more quietly. And that still happens in politics, by the way. The people who are making most of the things happen that happen in politics are not known faces. What you're seeing now with Donald Trump and Elon Musk is an anomaly. This is not normal. It's not normal that the people who are actually making the stuff happen and calling the shots are the same people you see on camera on TV. It's often the people you don't see and you don't know, and you wouldn't know them if they were standing behind you in line at Starbucks. They're the ones who are making all the decisions. That's generally how the government works. What's changed is that, of course, you get Trump, who's an anomaly. Again, he's not normal. So when he's gone, we're not going to see something like this. And secondly, because of the internet, now people's identities are getting outed more easily. Now it's more easy to find out who somebody is. Like 20, 30 years ago, if you didn't really follow politics, you wouldn't know who Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, McCarthy, you wouldn't know who these people were. You wouldn't know them. You would have heard of them, but you wouldn't really know anything about them. You wouldn't know their net worth. You wouldn't know any of that stuff if it wasn't for the internet. Now we're starting to know more of these folks and their business is more in the streets. What they claim is their business, what people claim is their business more in the streets because of the internet. But the people running the show are still mostly in the shadows. But wealthy people having influence on the government is not new. It did not start with Elon Musk, and it damn sure didn't start with Donald Trump. All right. And what people do is they use their money as influence. This is one of the reasons why people want to have money. All of you who are going to work today or you're at work, why do you work? What do you go to work for? You go there because you love to work? Okay, then work for free. All right, none of you works for free, right? You work to get the money. What do you do with the money? Use the money to influence the life that you want to live. You want to send your kids to this school. You want to drive this kind of car. You want to live in this neighborhood. You want to have this kind of house. You want this kind of groceries. You want this organic produce. You want these kind of shoes on. You go to work to make money because you want to use your money to do what? Influence the lifestyle that you want to live. So someone using their money to influence outcomes is not some negative thing because that's exactly what you do every single day. Again, if you don't do that for the money, if you don't go to work for the money, work for free. Do the same job, just don't get paid. None of you is willing to take that deal. And when someone makes more and more and more money, then they have the option to not only influence their own life and the life of their family. Now let me influence the community. Now let me influence the city. Now let me influence the state. Now let me influence the country. Now let me influence the whole world. The more money you get, the more things you can influence. You just expand your sphere of influence, the more resources you have, if you so choose. Not everybody chooses to do that with their money. Some people consolidate and just stay quiet. As I told you, 4 is 400. Most of those people, you will never know who they are. And there's a bunch of people not on that list who would be if they actually had the actual numbers. They don't want to be on the list because they don't want people to know they have money. Most people are not Elon Musk. Most people are not out there telling you what they're doing with their money when they have a whole bunch of it. They lay real low. So again, these people you're seeing now are anomalies. This is not normal. There are plenty of people with money who have influenced politics in ways that you've never known, and they work to keep it that way. All right, that's what they want. They don't want you to know that they have money. All that said, folks, let's have some conversation. We're talking about today, Trump and Elon. Is it an oligarchy? Over here on Rumble, Boss Death said, Dre, if jobs pay more than the economy, would that devalue the dollar? I'm not quite sure I understand your question. You said if jobs pay more than the economy. What does that even mean? Reword that question so I can understand exactly what you're asking. Boss Desk, who asked that question over on Rumble. Instagram, I don't think I saw any questions while I was talking, but I might have missed one. Let's see what we got over on TikTok. If you got a question on TikTok, I'm scrolling up as far as I can. I cannot scroll to the very beginning. So if you have a comment earlier and I missed it, just post it again, but don't keep posting it. I'm scrolling through. Glenn McCandless, thank you for sharing the live. Marky Man, good morning to you. Wendy said the Democrats love to get a hold of a new word and beat it to death. Yes, well, it's actually a good strategy, Wendy. It's a great strategy because if you keep repeating anything over and over again, people are eventually going to catch on to it and they're going to start using it themselves. Case in point is what we're talking about here today. I'm talking about oligarchy because everybody's using the word. So I am proof that it worked. Stella Vander said Democrats gave the money. My friends, public school teachers gave money. We all gave money. No, I'm not doubting, Stella, that you gave money. What I'm saying is the bulk of that $1 billion that Kamala Harris had did not come from people giving $10, $20, $100 to the Kamala campaign. That's not where she got the money. She didn't $5 her way to $1 billion. Glenn, thank you for sharing the live. 592 guy said, because the bottom of the pyramid are dumb, they were lied to. No, I don't think they're dumb. I think that, they can be lied to. And the thing is that when you don't have resources, you get to the point where you don't have the independence when you don't have resources, because you often cannot afford to put your middle finger up to the wrong person when you don't have resources. It's kind of like if you work at a job and you need the job. You may hate your boss, but you can't tell your boss you hate them because you need the job. So the fewer resources you have, the less freedom you have. And that's kind of the way it works in life in general. Jay Art said, racism, plain and simple. We keep underestimating the depth of racism in this country. What are you referring to there, Jay? I believe there is racism, but I don't know what angle you're referring to and why you brought that up. Erica, thank you for encouraging people to tap the screen. 592 said, dude, you also been lied to. Everybody's been lied to. The question is, do you notice the lies? The question is not, have you been lied to? The question is, do you notice the lies and do you believe them? That's the question. Phil said, I really enjoy listening to your views. Thank you. Me too. Tara T. Fid said, this man is a grifter. You're saying $25 is an entitlement. Well, first of all, I love that you left this comment. First of all, and I appreciate disagreements. This whole grifter thing is overused. So nowadays, this is what people do. They hear something that they disagree with, and they say you're grifting. Everybody who we disagree with is a grifter. All right, so I'm grifting. What's my grift? What's my grift? I didn't charge you to do this live. I've been talking here for over an hour. How am I grifting? By doing a free live stream talking about something that you disagree with. Please explain to me the grift, because grift involves I'm somehow, some way making money from telling you what I'm telling you. So how much money have you spent on listening to me talk here, and how did I grift you? Please file a complaint with the SEC if I grifted you. And you're saying, so what Tara said to me is, you're saying $25 is an entitlement. Well, first of all, I never used the word entitlement. And secondly, I gave a very logical example of why, if I'm paying you $10 an hour, and then you tell me that your living wage requires you to make $25 an hour, but I believe your value is only $10 an hour, that I am not going to give you $25 because logically, mathematically, that does not make sense for me as a business owner. So entitlement, no. If you can go out, let's say you quit my job, you work in my coffee shop, and you quit, Tira Tiff, and then you go get a job at Target, and they're willing to pay you $25 an hour. Hey, you did it. Congratulations. I got to replace you with somebody else who will accept $10 an hour. I'll just get a different employee. But if no one in the marketplace will give you $25 an hour, but a bunch of people will offer you 10, then that is the marketplace giving you a loud and clear message of your value. So it doesn't make it an entitlement. And again, if you're able to get it, it's not an entitlement. Now, if you don't get it, then you must adjust your approach. The marketplace will tell you the truth. That's how it works. Tara said, what are your qualifications for anything you're saying? That's a great question as well. My qualification is number one, that I turned the microphone on and the camera on and I started speaking. That's my number one qualification for doing what I'm doing right now. Same way that you're qualified to leave comments. Viva said, you are joking, right? What are you referring to? You know the thing, said, I demand you stop shopping exclusively at Men's Warehouse. LOL. Nice try. Erica said, one of my favorites to watch every morning. Thank you, Erica. Tara said, this man is selling books. LOL. You damn right I'm selling books. I don't write them just for them to sit on the shelf. I write them so we can ship them out and sell them. You damn right I'm selling books, but I didn't offer any of you a book anytime in this live. Again, what's my grift? I didn't even tell you the names of my books. I didn't tell you where to buy them. So how am I selling books? I am selling books, but not here. Not in this live. I'm not. 592 said, how is what you're saying different from the 20-year-old asking you? I don't understand your question. I think I explained that anecdote very clearly. But if I didn't, please tell me what you didn't catch. Tanya Kaufman, teacher, said, you are so right. I tell my children, if you want more money, work on more skills. Exactly. Most people understand this. Some of you may be pretending that you don't, but most people understand this. Egyptian Queen said, I used to work 3 jobs to make it. Shout out to people with 3 jobs. I never had 3. Traditional said, people are working 2 and 3 jobs today. I believe you. How many of you got more than 1 job? Mugu Boy said, if you're working a full-time job, you deserve a livable wage. No, you don't. You're working a full-time job. What you deserve is whatever amount of money you accepted based on the job that you have. So if you go get a job at, where's another place I worked at? I worked at McDonald's, and they say that we pay $7 an hour, and I take the job, then I deserve $7 an hour because I accepted the job. Now, if I believe I need $20 an hour, then I shouldn't be applying for a job at McDonald's when they clearly say you make $7 an hour. That's just stupid because I know better. So if I need $20 an hour, I need to go work somewhere that is willing to pay $20 an hour, and I have to make myself available, and I also have to prove that I am worthy of getting hired for that job. That's the way the open marketplace works. Open marketplace is not whatever you think you need. The marketplace has to give it to you. Never in life has that ever worked. Again, understand the laws of economics, Mugu Boy. You clearly do not. Or you're trolling me, one or the other. All of economics is supply and demand. You must supply what the marketplace is demanding. If you ain't got it, you don't get it. D-Boy said, explain Costco. I don't think I mentioned Costco, but what about them? Tanya Kaufman said, no one deserves a livable wage. If you want a livable wage, make yourself more desirable to employees. Yes, exactly. Day said, what's up, Reggie Miller Allen. I've had people tell me I look like Ray Allen. I never heard anybody say I look like Reggie Miller. I think Ray Allen's better looking than Reggie Miller, and I'm better looking than Ray Allen. So there's me, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller. So next time you see one of them, you tell them, what's up, Dre Baldwin. VV said, that's why corporations will fall. This is not sustainable at all. No, some corporations will fall, but not because of this. What's going to fall, VV? You want to know what's actually going to fall? There's a bunch of employees are going to fall because they're about to get replaced with robots and automation. That's what's actually going to fall. Wendy said, you have insurance and operation costs. That's correct. Yes, all kind of costs a business owner has. Mugu Boy says, no one supports a billionaire like a hundredaire. Well, we all support billionaires. All right. Do you own a Tesla? Have you ever used Starlink internet? Have you ever bought something from Amazon? Have you ever bought something from, let's say, Target? Right? Have you ever owned a PC before Apple took over? You ever bought something from Apple? All right. There are billionaires who are at the heads of all of these companies. So if you ever bought anything from them, you are quote unquote supporting them because they're making money off of your consumerism. VV said, that's cool for the small business. We're talking about large companies that make 99% more than workers. Again, how'd they become large, VV? How'd they become large companies? Because they solved a lot of problems for a whole bunch of people. But for that company to begin, someone had to take a financial risk. If you want to participate in the upside of the win, then you must participate in the downside of the risk. Most people don't want to participate in the risk. And then when they see you winning, they want to participate in the win. Like, yo, where were you when there was no money being made? Where were you when I was risking everything I had to make sure that this company even got off the ground? Some of you need to go get on Amazon or Audible and start reading the biographies and the memoirs of people who run businesses, and they can tell you the stories of what they were doing before it worked. Most people want to show up to the after party after you win the championship and they want to drink some champagne. Where were you before we won the championship? Where were you back then? You saw the Michael Jordan documentary. He said this in that Last Dance documentary. He said a bunch of my teammates here in 1998, they're showing up now to play for the Bulls when we got a full stadium and everybody's all excited about us and we're rock stars. And Michael said, I was here back when half the stadium was empty and nobody was coming to the games. They don't know what that felt like. So I got to make sure they understand that this is not something you just roll out of bed and jump into. We had to do work to actually get to this point. And it's the same thing when it comes to running a business. So you said large companies make 99% more than workers. Well, large companies are the reason that workers exist. If there was no large company, there'd be no workers because you wouldn't have a job. Lee said, this is exactly why McDonald's put kiosks to take orders. Yeah, but they put the kiosks in there because it saves them on expenses. They can continue to make money while they don't need to pay workers anymore. And also they eliminate human error. We have human beings taking orders. Every once in a while, the human's going to mess up. And the computers don't make mistakes. Koopa Tino said, why half Americans don't know Spanish? What does that have to do with anything? Viva said, does it matter where you go in the marketplace when a few at the top set the rules? Yes, it matters. Because if a few at the top set the rules, well, first of all, you need to know the rules. If you're going to play in the game that I control, you should probably know what the rules are that I've set. So if I say the rules are this, you get $10 if you do this, you get 20 if you do this, you get 30 if you do this, you get 50 if you do this. If you need to make $50, wouldn't it make sense that you know the rules of what it takes to make $50? Of course it matters. So wherever you go, when someone sets the rules, also, Viva, let's be clear. I don't know where you live. I'm assuming you're an American. Are there rules in the United States? Yeah, there are rules. Do you know what the rules are? Yeah, you do. Because if you didn't, you'd be in jail. So there are rules everywhere. Your job is to figure out what the rules are and find out how do I best win given the rules at hand. That's how logical people think. Sugar, good morning to you. William Jenkins, good morning. Crossroad Crooks says, off the bat, man's shareholders have money and physically do nothing. Employee makes the product. Well, how do you become a shareholder in a business, Crossroad Crooks? You become a shareholder by buying stock, i.e. you are investing in the company. You are putting money into a company with no guarantee you're going to make money back. That's what investing is. Here's the thing y'all should understand. When you look at the cash flow quadrant, you have employees and small business owners on the left side. You have business owners or let's say entrepreneurs and investors on the right side. Entrepreneurs and investors risk money. In case any of you didn't read in between the lines. What separates one side of the quadrant from the other side of the quadrant is risk. When you're willing to take risk, then you can participate in the upside. The downside of risk is that you might lose. Most people don't want to risk anything, which is why most people's the upper limit on their success is limited because they're not willing to take risk. You have to be willing to take a risk in order to win. The trade-off of trying to win is that you might lose. Most people position themselves to where they can't possibly lose, and that's the reason why their wins are not but so high. There's a limit on their wins because they never put themselves at risk to lose. Sugar, good morning. And entrepreneurship is by definition a risk. Crossroad Crook said they cannot run business without the employee. No, there won't be an employee without a business. And yes, I can run a business without an employee. All I got to do is get some automation and some AI. Have you not been to a McDonald's lately? You've been to a Burger King lately? You've been to a Shake Shack? And I was in Shake Shack. They got little boards. Now, when you walk into Shake Shack, last time I was in Shake Shack in Brickell, there's a counter with people standing there taking orders, but then to the right is like 4 computer boards, and you place your order right there. So guess what? It ain't as many people working there. Now it's like one person at the counters, just in case there's some old lady who doesn't know how to use a computer. They go talk to her. Everybody else, as soon as you walk in, they're like, yeah, place your order right there, and then we'll just call your name and give it to you. What happened to those other 3 employees working there? Nothing happened to them. They got fired. They don't have a job anymore. So yes, you can run a business without an employee. And if you think that you can't run a business without an employee, wait about 10 years and you're going to find out. It's going to smack you in the face. Kuto, thank you for the rose. Carla, Indiana, good to see you. Let's see. Michael Gottnick said, corrupt dictatorship taking hold. No, I don't think so. Pamela Kent said, this is the most common sense live I have ever seen. Well, I'm glad you found it, Pamela. Come back tomorrow and every day after this. If you like this one, you'll like the next one. Traditional said he is doing a great job exposing fraud. Yes. 26 said his expertise, LOL. Well, I mean, how are people saying? Are people trying to say that Elon Musk doesn't have expertise? I mean, the guy's made $1 billion. How do he make the money if he has no expertise? Well, when I say America, I'm talking about the United States of America. When I say America, colloquially, I mean the United States of America, not North America. Watch me be trash that Elon found nothing. LOL. Listen to his interview that he had with Fox News the other day. It was 38 minutes long. They explained what they found. And also they have a Doge account on X. If you go to X, DOGE, they actually every time they find something, they show you exactly what they found. So I don't. Yes, wrap up smear. That's what it's called. Dav Deutsch CE. Yes, the wrap up smear. That's what Nancy Pelosi was calling it. E-Taylor said, I like what you're doing. Well, who am I smearing? Joe said, exactly. Only the ones with something to hide are in an uproar against Elon. That's what it seems like. And what happens is the ones with something to hide are the ones whose names you don't know. They send the people who we do know to go speak out. Jazz said he's causing other problems by firing tons of government employees, average citizens suffering. Well, everything has a trade-off. What did I just tell you? 3 laws of economics. Well, number 3 is everything has a trade-off. The trade-off of firing government employees to increase efficiency in the government is that some people are going to lose their job. When you get fired, you don't have a job. That does not mean that firing you was a bad idea. Firing you might be a good idea. Again, if I'm running McDonald's, for example, let's say I'm a McDonald's franchisee and I got 10 employees working the front line of my restaurant to take orders, and somebody comes to me and says, Dre, you could put a LCD computer board there to replace the people. Now you don't have to pay them every hour, just pay for the computer. And now you don't have insurance. You don't have to pay taxes on having employees, and you don't actually have to pay the employees. You don't have to worry about them coming to work late or having an attitude with you. They don't have to go on bathroom breaks. They don't get a lunch break. The computers don't need any of that stuff. And I fire 8 of my employees and only keep 2, and I replace them with computer boards. That is a good business decision. Now, the trade-off of that is that 8 people now are unemployed. That does not mean I made a bad decision. I made a great decision. Those 8 people now need to go into the open marketplace and prove that they're worth whatever they want. And that's not my responsibility. That's their responsibility. So, yes, average citizens suffer because they get fired from a job. Yes, that happens. If you get fired from a job unexpectedly, there probably is some pain that goes with that. But that does not mean that I did something wrong by firing you. You are not entitled to a job. You are an at-will employee. You can get fired for any reason or for no reason at all. I don't owe you a job. Just because you had one yesterday does not mean you have one today. Lele said, no one hype up Trump more than the media since the 80s. Yeah, the media has hyped him up. I agree with that. Brogan said, bro, where do you find the truth then? That's a good question. Well, it used to be that journalists the job of a journalist is to find the truth and to report it to everybody else. The problem is journalism no longer gets paid for because social media is more sensational and more eyeballs are going to social media. So all of you who are on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube every day, the fact that your eyeballs are going there instead of going to what used to be called journalism is the reason we no longer have truth seekers who have a full-time job finding and reporting the truth. So we are actually part of the reason why there is no longer a truth seeker. And the answer to your question, Brogans, is that nowadays what you have to do is find the truth yourself. You don't have anybody finding it for you. So what you need to do is, and everybody is on any subject, you have to take in enough material on every side of the conversation to kind of understand what everybody is saying. And then you have to use your own critical thinking skills to figure out what is actually true versus what is not. But there is no one authoritative source on the truth these days the way it used to be. So there used to be a place to find the truth. Nowadays, you find the truth by looking for it yourself. And the fact of the matter is most people are lazy. They don't think and they don't read. So most people are not even interested in the truth anymore. People are more interested in whatever is sensational or what feels good or what they can consume in a very short period of time, i.e. a 90-second TikTok video. This is the reason why it feels like human beings, not humans, but let's say citizens, are more divided amongst each other than ever. And the reason is that human beings are lazy and social media has played on our natural laziness. And this is the reason why we no longer have journalism and we have all of these different sources of information. And therefore, nobody knows what to believe or who to trust. And we have all of these people with different opinions and no one can come to a consensus. And this is the world that we created. We asked for this. By our own behaviors, we asked for this world. So hopefully that answers your question. Bill Farrell said, you love to hear yourself talk. Oh, a little bit. Yes, Bill. And there's an audience who loves to hear me talk too. That's the reason why I do these live streams. Judged by One said, the employees make a owner business stay up and running. Without employees, their business will close. No, because I can easily replace an employee. All right, name an irreplaceable employee. Name one. Ain't too many of them. There aren't too many irreplaceable employees. If you take somebody like LeBron James, he's an irreplaceable employee, but most employees are replaceable. So think about any job you ever worked at, judged by one. Name any job you ever worked at that you stopped working at. So just think of all the jobs you had in your life that you no longer have. Did that business stop running when you left? Most of them did not. And if they did stop running, it wasn't because of you. Every business has employees who can be replaced. The fact that you are an employee in the first place usually means 97% of the time that you are replaceable. No disrespect to any of you who's an employee, but you are replaceable. If you quit, the business is not going to stop. So people say this, that without employees, the business will close. No, it won't. Again, name an employee who is irreplaceable. You can hardly name any. Manchester King said, so you believe in trickle-down economics? I never said that, number one. Number two, this is a straw man question. You start the question with the word so. You're about to rephrase something that I did say into something that I didn't say, and I damn sure did not say that. So, no. Connie, thank you for the follow. Ike, thank you for the follow. William Johnson said, Rothschild's laughing at those lists. What lists you talking about? Robert said, where are your RPMs highest? I would like to view on another platform. Oh, no, I don't care about that, Robert. Honestly, I don't do these live streams as a revenue source. I honestly don't. If I make some, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and I even I'm even doing it on a new YouTube, was not even monetized yet. So I don't care about that. I appreciate the offer, but it doesn't matter. TikTok is fine. This is where I get the most comments. So you might as well just watch me on TikTok. Ike says, how do we keep that sentiment with employees so that they will keep spending and outlook positive? Well, generally people need to be making money. So this is one of the arguments for a living wage, that if people are making more money at their jobs, then they will be more optimistic about their futures and they're more willing to spend the money that they have because they're making more. So there is an argument for the living wage, and that's one of them, is that if you pay your employees more money, now they'll be more optimistic about their situation, and that means they'll spend more of the money that they have. Which generally, people, when they get more money, they spend it. So there is an argument for the living wage based on that. That's not exactly what you asked, but what you asked alludes to it. So the trade-off, though, is that the employers will be spending more money and giving money to people who are not producing at the level at which they're being paid, which again is a losing equation for a business owner. So there are different ways of looking at this. Everything has a trade-off. There are no perfect scenarios. So everything I'm saying here, none of what I'm saying here today, folks, is a perfect scenario. There's no such thing. Everything has a cost. Lee and Lisa said, who decides what is fair? The people who make the rules. If you're a parent, for example, and you have kids who are 12 years old and 8 years old, who makes the rules? You do. The parent. You make the rules. And if your kids don't want to follow the rules, they get punished. That's generally what happens. So whoever has the power makes the rules. So any of you want to make the rules in life, you got to get power. And to get power, you must take on responsibility and ownership, which usually requires taking on some level of risk. It also requires taking on responsibility for things that are not actually your fault. Most people don't want to do that. That's the reason why many people don't have power. But then they complain about the people who make the rules, but you're not willing to do what the people who make the rules are doing. So how do you want it? Pick a struggle. That's the way it works. Dave, good morning. You said, dude, stop. Are you disagreeing with something that I said? Precious Camelia, good morning. Rob JP said he is spitting facts. Thank you. Careless Whipper. That trickle down been waiting on a drop since the 80s. Yeah, I'm not a fan of trickle down. John said, this is what I voted for. Well, this is what everybody voted for. Even if you voted for Kamala, you voted for what we got now because the person you voted for didn't win. So even if you didn't vote for Trump, you voted for Trump. So every American listening to this, you voted for Trump, whether you voted for him or not, because the outcome, we all know how it works. Whoever wins, they're in control. Trying said, that's great, but that doesn't work for every commodity. We're way behind in chip manufacturing. What are you referring to? Mac Daddy said, even as a more conservative person, trickle-down economics never worked. No, I don't believe in trickle-down economics. Trying said, it'll take decades for us to be making 50/90s. I don't know what that is. Carlos said, you can't handle the truth. That's right. Mac Daddy said, I already answered that one. Dally Mac said, some of this is common sense as well, but like you said, people have employee mentalities. Well, most people are employees. Most people are not business owners. And Dally Mac, you got to be careful about that common sense phrase. A lot of people call things common sense when you understand it, but that's assuming that everybody else understands what you understand. It was generally not the case. So be careful calling something common sense. Jojo said, what would incentivize business billionaires to pay their workers more? Their workers producing more ROI. That's it. you want to make more money, you got to produce more returns on the money you're asking for. That's all it takes. But if I'm running a business and I got a bunch of employees working for me for $20 an hour, why would I pay you 25? Why? What? That's a good question. What you're asking, Jojo. What would incentivize me to pay you more money? Why do I need to pay you more money? For what? What do I get out of paying you more money? If you want more money, you got to help me make more money. I tell people who work for me the same thing. You want me to pay you more money. The work that you're doing must help me make more money. And if you can't tell me how it does, then why would I pay you more money? Oh, you don't want to work here anymore? You want to quit? Okay, I'll replace you. I mean, no disrespect. It's not personal, but this is just how it is. And if I had a job, that's the same thing my boss would say to me. Okay, you want more money, Dre? Okay, what are you going to do to help me make more money to justify paying you more money? And if I can't answer the question, then what am I doing in my boss's office asking for money? That doesn't make any sense. Logically, it makes no sense. I've always thought like this, but I understand most people don't think the way that I think. But my incentive to pay you more money if I own a business, whether I'm a billionaire or not, is you got to help me make money. You help me make money, I will give you more money, gladly. You come to me with a way to make money, let's do it. Let's go. Mac Daddy said, you already said that. I already answered that. Queen, thank you for the follow. Rachel, thank you for the follow. Space Coast Florida Life said, is this your day job? No, I guess this kind of is my day job. This is not my full-time business. My full-time business is a company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. We help professional entrepreneurs systematize and scale their businesses from 6 figures to 7 figures. But I like doing these live streams because one, it's a way of marketing myself, because it doesn't matter the topic. I'm marketing myself by just showing you how I think, how I talk about things, which is how a lot of our businesses clients find me anyway, not through live streams, but through my daily podcast. I have a show called Work on Your Game, comes on Spotify and Apple every single day. Let me show y'all that while somebody's asking me that question. So those of you who may not catch on my live stream, some of you may not be able to catch these because I got other things that I'm doing. You got other things that you're doing. My show is called Work on Your Game. Looks like this. You can find it on Spotify. This is the Spotify version and is also on Apple. So it's called Work on Your Game, and it comes out every single day. And I put out today's episode is number 3,244. So when I say every day, I mean every day. Every day since 2016, the show has been coming out. And where's the description? They give me a description of the show. Yeah, so I'm not going to read all this, but there's a description of the show. Y'all can see this. Comes out every day. It's on Apple and Spotify. It's called Work on Your Game. It's free, and y'all know how podcasts work. So y'all can listen to those on your own time as opposed to these live streams, which you got to catch when I actually do it. So is this live streaming my day job? No, but part of my marketing mix is to do a live stream. I like doing these. And I like talking about current events through these because in my show, I record my episodes like weeks in advance. So if I talk about something like this, by the time it comes out, this is no longer even a topic. So I like doing a live stream so I can talk about current events when they actually happen. And this is also good practice for me. I get good at laying out and fleshing out my arguments by doing these live streams. I also get good at responding to the stuff that people say by reading these comments. Jojo said, poor is a mindset. Yes. Jojo said, bro, do better. Broke is a financial state. Poor is a mentality. Jojo, what part of that are you disagreeing with? Miss Six Toes said, wrong, sir. People are born with less opportunities. So if you're born with less opportunities than someone else, actually everybody's born with less opportunities than someone else, depending on how you frame it. Elon Musk had less opportunities for being an athlete than I did. I'm much more genetically designed to play sports than Elon Musk is. All right, you see Elon with no shirt on. Now, other people, let's say Donald Trump's son, is born with more financial opportunities than I was because he was born to a dad who already had a whole bunch of money, and I was not. So everyone has different opportunities based on your situation. It depends on the way that you look at it. And yes, poor is a mentality. Poor is a way of thinking. It's not a financial state. Broke is a financial state. Traditional said poor people are poor because of poor choices. Yes, that's right. And they pass those poor mentalities down to their kids. So it becomes generational. Mac Daddy, you posted the same comment like 30 times. Carla said, I don't want to live in that state. The costs are too high. That's correct. Totally Garrett said, tax the rich. If tax the rich got you self checkouts, pretty much it's going to get you more. Wait till you see what they're about to do. All right. Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. All right. Next is robots. Next thing is robots, and robots are still exist, but they're going to be cheaper. There's going to be cheap robots that everybody in here is going to have a robot. Y'all remember the Jetsons? You remember that cartoon, the Jetsons, back in the day? You remember they had the robot Rosie that cleaned the house? That's about to happen. So any of you who does something like dog walking, that's about to be done. Some people like the human connection, but dog walking, house cleaners, people who go like to different houses and clean the house up, it's about to be a robot that does that. You ever go past a swimming pool? Down here in Florida, everybody has a pool. So the swimming pools, you know, the guys that come to the pool with the long little net and they clean the pool, there's about to be a robot that does that. There's about to be robots doing everything. Maintenance men, robot. Everything's about to be robots. So y'all on this tax the rich. Okay, keep taxing the rich. And you ain't going to have a job. So Miss Six Toes said, wow, okay, a lot of us should be rich then. I don't know what you're referring to, but the sarcasm, probably not a good idea here. Shuggy said, your books are about mindset. Do you also have books about business? Of course I do. I had a book called The Seller's Mindset. You can see it right there. I got a new book coming out this week. Is right here. I haven't really announced it yet. That's coming out this week. That's about sales. I got the Overseas Basketball Blueprint bundle. I got 4 books about playing basketball overseas. I got 4 books about basketball playing, period. So that's 8 right there on that. What other books do I have about business? I got so many books that I sometimes forget. Work on Your Game is a business-based book. This is a business book. It's in the business category. And what else? I can't even remember. I have to look through my list. Ike said, what will incentivize employers to bring business back to America? Tax cuts, as I explained. Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and every other Democrat and every other Republican gives tax cuts to the business owners so that they keep their business in the United States. That's why they do it. Jared Barker said, just stopping in to say MAGA. All right, well, you said it. We heard you. Thank you for the donut. Michelle with the #1 gifter badge. Thank you for the hearts. Ike says, so does he have no incentive or is he incentivized? I don't know who you're referring to, but every human being is incentivized to do anything that they do. Any human you see doing something, there's an incentive for them to do it. Those of you leaving comments on this live, the incentive is that I might read it and respond to it. Me doing this live, the incentive is that people are paying attention and listening to me. Every one human being does things, there's an incentive to do it. Nobody does something for nothing, ever, even a poor person. Yes, this is live. People often ask that because I'm reading comments from the top. So by the time I see your comment, you already said it like several minutes ago. Respects You Tech said, I always thought he did all this, including Twitter, to take over the world with Peter Thiel. Well, maybe he wants to take over the world. I mean, he ain't doing it for money. He already got money. Michelle said he was not a conservative. Yeah, he wasn't. He came from Silicon Valley. Ain't no conservatives over there. Trump said a lot to laugh. Said a train. No, Trump said he was Republican because they were so dumb they would believe anything. Well, was he right? I don't know if he was right, but I mean, he said that many years ago. Who knows if he still believes that? I think that when he came out politically, he kind of had to go that way because he didn't really have other options. Let's see. Man, there's a lot of comments today. All right, let's see. All right, we're somewhere possibly keeping up here. Carla, thank you. Evan, what's not true? What are you disagreeing with? Marky said average wage at Tesla is $106,000. Is that a living wage? Depends on where you live, Marky. Living wages are different depending on where you live. Now, in Silicon Valley, $106,000, you're broke. I've been to Silicon Valley. All right, you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, you're making $106,000 a year, you will be broke. Now, if you're living in a smaller town, middle America, and $106K, you're good. So it depends. Monica Nicole said they enter office with a normal salary and leave millionaires. LOL. Yeah, that's what people have been saying. Well, we know that's true. Well, not with all of them, but we do think. Judge by One said, what do you think of Cory Bicker's speech? I didn't hear it yet. Is it worth me listening to? Respects You Tech said you need the FU money. Yes, everybody should want to get FU money so that you can actually say FU. Jeffrey D said, raising the minimum wage doesn't help anyone. It's just more tax dollars for the government. That's one part of it. And it also means people who are minimum wage employees will get fired because nobody's going to hire you for the higher price. The way I already explained it. Out of Office said, we appreciate you. Thank you. Carla with the gifter badge. Thank you for the goat. Lisa Brooks, thank you for the goat. Dom Dada, good morning. Wendy said, they all stay here listening to you because you have the best content on TikTok. Well, thank you. If I got the best content on TikTok, then I need to be like 10,000 people in here. Right now, it says 126. So if I got the best content, please let TikTok know and tell them not to ban me off the app because they told me I'm one strike away from getting banned. So let's hope that I go more in the other direction, Wendy. Oh, by the way, those of you who are watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a new link to my new YouTube in there. So we're building that channel up right now. There's only 1,000. It's not even 2,000 subscribers on my new YouTube. It's an old YouTube that I never used, but it's going to be my new YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And follow me on Instagram. My Instagram link is in my profile on TikTok as well as my YouTube link. So make sure you follow me in both of those places. Those of you who are watching me on TikTok. Daniel Lee said, I appreciate your logical breakdown without the emotional blinders. Keep it up. Thank you. That's what I try to do. But some people still disagree with me, which is fine. Dally Max said, I technically have 4 jobs right now. Just have some cushion and invest. That's a lot of jobs. Dally, what are your jobs? What are your 4 jobs? But investing is a good idea. Pay something now, get more later. Pimp's Tie said, I work 2 jobs. I do what I have to. She keep my mouth shut. I'm responsible for myself. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. CJ Max says, funny how people are hating on you. Either take the information to learn or keep scrolling. No, nobody's hating. I don't like that word hating. I think some people just disagree. And when people disagree, they tend to react. So they react by just saying whatever comes to mind, which is fine. This is what the internet is designed for. It's completely fine. Dom said, full-time job, full-time student, 36 years old, and have 5 jobs of my life plus 100K plus. Great. 100K will go a long way depending on where you live. And in some places, 100K is not enough. Ike says, so is Trump's game of chicken with other countries working? Generally, it is, yes. What they do is the countries come out and they say, we're not going to be bullied by Donald Trump, and everybody cheers and everybody says, look at these people standing up to Trump. And then off camera, behind the scenes, those same leaders are calling Donald Trump and giving him exactly what he told them they need to give. Donald Trump just doesn't go out and brag about that, but that's what happens every time. CJ said these folks need to read a Thomas Sowell book. Well, many of them have been conditioned to not want to listen to anything Thomas Sowell says because they are already been told that he's a bad guy. Bry Guhi, thank you for the follow. Brandon Jones, good morning. When he said, better yourself and make yourself an asset. Yes, exactly. Lauren Fenton said, if you want a livable wage and you have no skills, get a commission job and work on your sales skills. That's a good advice. Yes, everybody should get a job in sales. Is anybody here who never had a job in sales? Everybody should have a job in sales where you are like cold selling people who may not even be interested in what you got. Everybody should have that experience because sales skills apply to every other aspect of life. Dr. Michelle Henry, thank you. Irma V, thank you. Good morning. Monica, thank you for the follow. Danye Kaiser, thank you for the follow. Lisa Brooks said, Trump's trying to kill off the poor and elderly by taking away Medicare and Medicaid. I don't think so. That's what the Democrats are telling you that he's doing, but that's not what's actually happening. First thing we need to know about Medicare and Medicaid, first of all, they're actually going to get rid of it. And secondly, what are they going to replace it with? Until we know both of those answers, we can't make these kind of statements. Well, you can, but is it actually based on anything true? The answer is no. Eddie said, live within your means, cut up credit cards is all you, not the employer. Well, you don't have to cut up your credit cards. Credit cards are actually very useful if you use them responsibly. If you use them irresponsibly, then it becomes not good. Sean Bird said, I just tuned in and I don't get how anyone can oppose what you're saying is crazy. Well, you got to understand, every human being is unique. Everybody has their own way of thinking. And you also got to understand what people are listening to. You hear the same thing over and over again. If someone comes in and says something different one time, you may react to what that different thing is. Dally said, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Tara Mills 11. Shu said, only been listening for about 10 minutes, but so far, so good. What a breath of fresh air. Thank you. Well, make sure you're following me. Subscribe to my show. My show is called Work on Your Game. Comes out on Apple and Spotify every single day. It's called Work on Your Game. Let me see if I put this right here. Can y'all see this? So my show is called Work on Your Game. Comes out every single day, Apple and Spotify. It's about 20, 30 minutes a day. So it's not 2 hours like this. 20, 30 minutes a day. Just me talking. I don't have guests on my show. Just me talking about more evergreen leaning topics. It's not current events. It's not a news show. It's more about personal and professional development, mindset, strategy, business. Sometimes social issues, but not necessarily a current event. It's not like I put it out the day after something happens. I don't do that. I do that more evergreen stuff. Then you listen to my show that comes out every day, 20, 30 minutes. Lee said, I never got a job from a poor man. That's a good point. Brian Gooey said, been following you since the Dre all day, since the basketball stuff. That's what's up. CJ Mack said, there's a fully automated McDonald's in Texas, no employees serving food. Oh, they're all about to be like that. How can anyone with a brain disagree with what you're saying? Very easily. Sean Bird. Justin Martin said, that tie is nice. Thank you. I like this tie. The thing about wearing ties is that you got to be careful when you eat food because you get some food on the tie and now it's done. Scott said, but they have money to risk. Yes, the good thing about the world we're in today, Scott Wynn, is that you can start a business with no money. and you can just build it up to having money. How many stories are there? People went from nothing to something. Marty said employer contributions to Social Security and Medicare equal to, yeah, exactly, and the amount you pay. Ike said most people aren't educated enough to risk. Maybe attacking education might not help. Well, depends on what kind of education you're talking, Ike. If you're talking the educational system, that education is probably not going to put you in a position of what we're talking about here. You're not going to become Elon Musk by being a great student at school. Doesn't mean you can't be a good student, but that's not the path to get there. Respects You Tech said, these days you really need to start a business for security in the future. Yes, almost everybody. Respects You Tech, almost everybody needs to do that. A lot of people don't want to hear that because there's risk involved in starting a business. But yes, for security in the future, everyone should own a business. Even if it's a side hustle, everyone should have a business. I've been saying that since 2017. Everybody should have a business. Lisa said, give us info on Medicare and Medicaid. We don't know yet. That's what I just said. We got to know what they're actually going to do. And if they are getting rid of either one, what they're going to replace it with? We don't know the answer yet. So there's no info to be given. Carlos said, it's like AOC saying Elon is not smart. Yeah, it was a foolish thing for her to say. It doesn't make any sense. And that's what I mean when I say they overreach. They start overreaching and saying dumb stuff because they got the cameras in front of them. And all that does is push people to the other side of the conversation. To Amber and Beyond, good morning to you. Buzzle said, only haters want to see people fail. Let me think about that. Maybe. Patsy Barrow said, great discussion today. Very informative. Thank you, Patsy. Robert says, I still don't know anyone who lost their job. I know some people who work in the government who are about to lose their jobs, but not because of Trump. Kate said, if you're not doing your job has become obsolete. You're going to lose it. Pretty much. You might lose your job even if you are doing it. So that's the thing about having a job is that you might get fired even if you're doing a good job. You might still lose your job. Why? Because it saves me money to not have to pay you. And I can still get the job done without paying you. I'm going to fire you. Right to work means right to fire is pretty funny the way political names work. Yes, exactly. Shuggy, thank you for the icons there. Kate said, most people go to social media because they're being lied to by the legacy media. Well, people on social media lie too, though, Kate. That's the problem. All media, people in every form of media tell lies. So there's no form of media that is all truthful. They all lie. Public media lies, paid media lies, social media lies. Men lie, women lie. Everybody lies. You can lie with stats. You can lie with facts. Everybody can lie if they want to lie. The challenge these days is that we have to have the discernment to recognize who's lying and who's telling the truth. That's the challenge that we're in. Because nobody's doing it for us. It used to be a group of people who did it for us called journalists. They no longer exist. So now we got to figure it out on our own. Most people are too lazy to figure it out. And this is the reason why we have this chaos that we have right now. Nico said, good morning. Most people nowadays have no more common sense. Yeah, so I told somebody earlier about that phrase common sense. You got to be careful with that one because what's common to you is not common to the next man. Josh says, it's been decades since traditional media was relied on to be journalists instead of entertainment. You're pretty much right. About a decade and a half. Chesik said, agreed about the truth. My For You page got so left, I knew I had to find balance, and I found you. That's what's up. Thank you. Glad you found me. So is that what TikTok likes? The people on the left on the For You page? They used to put me on there every now and then. Josh said, just like employees, any business if replaceable. Yes, anything can be replaced, and everything will be replaced. Judged by One said, there are companies closing down because no employees coming to work. Do your research on it. I don't have to do research on it. Again, any business can go out of business for a myriad of different reasons. But to say that businesses exist because of employees is false. Businesses exist because of customers. Judged by One, your logic is flawed, is what I'm saying. It's not impossible for a business to go out of business. But a business does not go out of business because the employees stop working. Businesses go out of business because they no longer have customers. If a business has customers, that means they're making money. And if a business is making money, guess what they can do? They can hire employees. There is no irreplaceable employee. But if a business doesn't have any customers, they'll go out of business whether they have employees or not. I can have 1,000 employees. If I have no customers, I got to shut my business down. That's the way it works. I know a guy who runs a business down here in Florida. He has some government contracts. The government contracts got stalled or paused, as the government likes to say. You don't know when they're going to get unpaused. He had to fire half of his staff. Because what? He didn't have customers. So he had to fire a bunch of people. That's the way it works. It's not the other way around. Employees cannot put a business out of business, but a business can put employees out of a job. Pamela, thank you for the gift. Michelle said, I hate how the news mentions tariffs equal higher prices. Generally, they can, but what they're not telling you is the other side of it. Tariffs equaling higher prices also equals more people having jobs, which means they can afford to pay the higher prices because they actually have money. King's Air, I'll be careful saying names of other countries, especially Asian countries. Josh said, punish is a horrible word for parenting. Consequences, not punishment. Josh, where'd you get that from? Some conscious parenting book? No, I don't subscribe to that. Punish, 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 punish. Punish is a fine word to use because punishment is a real thing. It's in the dictionary. So we're not playing word police over here. I don't play those games. You can do that with your parenting, but that's not how I do things. Judged by One said, when a trash company lost the drivers, they closed down and tons of trash was left on the street. Well, guess what? That trash ain't still on the street, is it? Because another business came along, business with employees, and they got it. Now, what you're offering are anecdotal examples, but this anecdotally fallacious. Big friggin' Mike said, by definition, you never get paid the full value of what you produce under capitalism. No, generally, I agree with that, Mike. If you're an employee, of course, the boss and the job is making more money off your work than you are, by definition. Because if you were making the exact same amount or more, then why would they employ you? Kalo said, most reasonable people will agree with your facts. Well, I try not to even tell people necessarily facts. I just try to break things down logically because you can lie to people with facts. It's very easy to deceive with facts. Josh says, hey, what? A vote for X is not a vote for Y, brain damage. What are you referring to, Josh? If you are disagreeing with something that I say explicitly what you're disagreeing with and how you see things. That's the way we do things over here. Please, no passive aggression. I'm not a fan of passive aggression in men. DMC Sniper said, when or how should the government fix the cost of living and paid wages difference? The government's not going to fix that. That will never be fixed by the government. The marketplace will fix that. So if you're asking the government to fix that, you should get a Snickers bar because you won't be going anywhere for a while. The marketplace fixes anything that has to do with money is fixed by the marketplace, not by the government. If the government gets involved, they're going to mess it up. Guaranteed. Every time the government gets involved in anything that involves money, they mess it up. Kingsley Jones said, MAGA and Trump's destroying our country for our kids. They want dictatorship. Nah, I don't know about all that, Kingsley. Sounds good to the right audience, but not over here. Success Edit says, people don't understand you have to give value to get paid more. People do understand that, Success Edit. I think people understand it. It's just that they don't want to face the reality of it. That's what people don't want to do. Becky, thank you for the follow. Kingsley, I can't say the names of these countries that you keep mentioning, so I can't read your comments. And I'm not talking about any of that today anyway, so please keep it on topic. Amanda said, I truly think the world operates on outdated power sources and petroleum and coal is harmful. Okay, that's what you think, fine, but that's not the topic. Let's see. Out of Office said, the new stock, if bought, will have profit sharing. Yeah, well, it depends on who buys it. Yeah, depends on who buys it, yes. And that deadline's coming up, right, in like less than 3 weeks. So we'll see who buys it. Hopefully it's some American who has some traditional business views about entrepreneurship. There's going to be an entrepreneur who buys it, but it depends on who it is. Very much depends on who it is. Diesel Motion said, I stand with the president. And that's probably a good idea to stand with the president. I think whoever the president is, people should stand with them because why would you want the president to fail? If you live in America, you should not want the president to fail, even if you didn't vote for them. Amanda, you're talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the topic here today. DMC said, businesses are personal, yet everything used to make the business is personal. Okay, I agree with that. Yes, business is person to person. I agree with that. Mark said, go Trump. All right. Pamela said, you make your own opportunity. That is correct. JG said, Elon Musk was born rich. I don't know the story of what he was born with, but let's just assume that you're right, that he was born rich. So what? What does that have to do with anything that we're talking about here today? If you were born not rich, that doesn't mean that you are precluded from becoming rich in the country with the most opportunity in the world, which is the United States of America. So whether Elon was born rich or not is irrelevant to the topic here today. The original said tax the rich. Okay, well, we already talked about what would happen when you do that. I don't think you heard it. Out of Office said, I can't wait for a 5K Tesla robot to cook for us. That might already exist, but this is going to be cheaper. The robot's going to get cheap. It'll be where you could buy a robot on Amazon for like $20. Not yet, but soon. Alejandro said, take a drink already. I've taken a few. I've drank this is my 5th liter of water today, not in this live, but today. Amanda, what are you talking about? You're talking about things that have nothing to do with the topic at hand. So I'm not reading your comments, but if you get to the topic, then I will gladly engage. DMC said everyone should own a business is a fallible truth projection. No, it's not. Everyone should own a business. It's not a projection, and it's not fallible either. Everyone should own a business because owning a business puts you in control and it gives you tax breaks that you do not get as an employee. That's the reason why people should own a business. What am I projecting? The original said, how do tariffs create more jobs? LOL. Because it is designed, the design of a tariff ostensibly is to entice businesses to keep doing their business in the United States, which means they have to hire American employees. But if they outsource their business to, let's say, Brazil, then they don't have to hire American employees. So there are more jobs if there are more businesses doing business here and doing all their manufacturing here as opposed to doing their manufacturing offshore. Hopefully that answers your question. Daniel said, media ignores the tariffs that other countries already have on us as well. Yeah, exactly. Marty said, business owners don't just start making money. Many sleepless nights, then employees want a piece. That is correct. King the Business said, conscious parenting book. That's a real thing. Conscious parenting is a very popular concept. Conscious parenting. My wife is into conscious parenting. I'm not into conscious parenting. I listen to some of the things that she offers, but I'm not into conscious parenting. Punishment is a punishment. And I'm not playing the language games. I don't know where people get that shit from, some liberal university. Not a fan. Roland said, we don't have the natural resources to create battery components, metal for alternator or starter. Well, that's why we got to go get it. Chessie said, no, you did not show up on the FYP. I searched for bounce. Oh, so you had to search for me. So I didn't show up on the FYP. So TikTok, get me on the FYP. I know TikTok's listening to this right now. Get me on the FYP, TikTok. All right. People want balance. Or wait till TikTok gets sold. They might, whoever buys them, it depends on who buys them. So let's just see who ends up buying them. Then it'll be a whole different ball game. Maybe. Carla, thank you and everybody, all the moderators, thank you for getting me to 50,000 here today. Next level home buyer say your boss isn't going to pay you enough to live in his or her neighborhood. That's generally true. Yes, I would generally agree with that. All right, a few more comments, then we'll be done. The original row said manufacture here means livable wages. Maybe. Depends on what you consider livable, row. Livable wages in Norman, Oklahoma is not the same as a livable wage in Coconut Grove, Miami. So it depends on where you live. Next level said government has no business in the free market. That is correct. 100% agree. Rowan said, let's talk about the minimum wage. I already talked about it, Rowan. Have you listened to this whole live? I talked about it a lot already. Let's see. Tax the ultra wealthy and super corps. Well, again, this has been preached for 30 years. It hasn't worked. Next level said taxation is theft. Yes, it is. Generally, I agree. The original said average salary is $50,000 at Hyundai. Well, depending on where you live, you can get by with $50,000, or you might be in dire straits at $50,000. Depends on where you live. Kingdom said they always talk about tax the rich. Yes, because it keeps the masses of people excited when they say it. That's why they keep saying it. The original row said, y'all are missing the plot. What plot are we missing? Let me check my calendar today. I think I have a call at 11 o'clock. Yeah, sorry. We'll take a few more questions, and then I'll wrap this one up. Kingdom Business, I know my wife is too. Yes, a lot of women buy into that conscious parenting stuff. It's a feminine approach. That doesn't make it bad. It's just a feminine approach to things. And I'm generally not a fan. I'm not a woman. So I'm not a fan of it. Oh, so some of you did find me on the FYP? Okay, so we need TikTok to put me on the FYP more. Because they would put me on the FYP like in 2024 when I was talking about the election, leading up to the election, I'll be on the FYP a lot. And I would have like 500 people in my lives. But then I would say something that pissed somebody off and TikTok would suspend me. So I've been suspended 8 times from TikTok since like last fall. Since last like September, I've gotten 8 suspensions on TikTok. And they last told me you're one strike away from getting completely banned from the app. So that's the current situation. Let's see. All right, my cats and weirdos and 303X said I was on the FYP. All right, that's what's up. Book Junkie, thank you for the follow. Mandy said, I love this man's honesty. Dre All Day is accurate. I'm here for it. Thank you. Well, Dre All Day is the first name I came up with back in the day when I used to make basketball content. And my first website was called DreAllDay.com. I still have it. Still got DreAllDay.com. So shout out to the people who remember the Dre All Day days. I'm still Dre All Day. I just don't make basketball videos anymore. The original said 50K is poor everywhere. I'm not sure about that, bro. I would push back on that. 50K is not poor everywhere. It depends on where you live. There are some places where you can get a 1-bedroom place to live for like $1,000 a month. So let's say that's $12,000 a year in living expenses. Let's even call it 15. And you got, what's that leave you with? $38,000 of discretionary income, depending on how much your car costs and your other expenses. You can get by with 50,000. So no, 50,000 is not poor everywhere. I disagree. And we gotta draw a designation between poor and broke. Poor is a way of thinking. What you actually mean is broke. We generally say poor. I know what you mean. I know what you're alluding to. But since I draw a delineation between poor and broke here today, that's why I'm saying it's broke. Christian said minimum wage is government involvement in the free market. That is true. Harley Girl, thank you for the follow. Marion, good morning to you. Rowan said, I talk about the minimum wage, not just you and you. I don't know what that means. Ricky said, game changer, Trump dissolves income and payroll tax. Well, that would probably have to go through Congress. Not sure that's going to happen. I think it would be a game changer, but is it going to happen? Probably not. Even the Republicans are not going to vote for that because they're going to get trashed if they do. So I doubt that happens. But it sounds good to talk about. Let's see. Kingdom said, that's how I found you. All right, that's what's up. Next Level Home said 50K is good in middle America. Exactly. 50K, well, you can live on $50,000, especially if you got two people making $50,000. That's a $100,000 household. That you're more than good in the right place. Depends on where you live. So, Ro, where are you from? The original Ro said 50K is broke even in middle America. Ro, where do you live? Where are you located? You must be a big city person talking like this. You really don't have any idea what the middle of America looks like saying these things. Rowan said, accept my guest requests. No, Rowan, I'm not accepting your guest requests. No guests. This is a soliloquy. These guys are a soliloquy, just me. Oligarchy, King Works over on Instagram said, what is an oligarchy? I'll give you a definition that I read earlier. It refers to a power structure where a small group of individuals wield significant influence over political decisions, often due to immense wealth. So I just spent the last 2 hours debunking the concept. I'm debunking the concept of oligarchy. Let's see. Original Rose said, I'm from Ohio. Well, middle America, I mean, Ohio's not, it's kind of sort of middle America, but no. Middle America is a place where $50,000 will take you very far. I just told you, if you got an apartment that costs $1,000 a month, how are you broke at $50,000 a year? What are you spending money on? If you're single and you're making $50K a year, or even if you have a kid, you make $50K a year, and you send your kid to a public school, how are you broke? And you got $1,000 a month place to live. How does that make you broke? Where's the money going? Okay, that's Midwest. All right, whatever you want to call it. Oligarchy. I spent the last 2 hours talking about why calling Trump and Elon is an oligarchy is debunked. Not the word itself. The word oligarchy is in the dictionary. I'm not debunking the dictionary. What I'm saying is Trump and Elon are not an oligarchy. That's the argument that I've made here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. If you like this one, come back tomorrow. If you didn't like this one, come back tomorrow. If you really, really love this one, come back tomorrow. If you hated this one, come back tomorrow. If you think I am really good and really clear and objective and logical, thank you, come back tomorrow. If you think I am completely brainwashed and I'm just trying to support Trump and Elon and I don't know what I'm talking about and I need to do better and think better and I don't know what's the other things I need to have my brain cleansed, come back tomorrow. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. And I think tomorrow we're going to talk about the red pill. You heard about the red pill? This red pill world of red pill men. And I know Mr. AT is one of the people that gets credited with the red pill. We're going to talk about the red pill. Is it good? Is it bad? Yeah, I'm going to talk about the red pill maybe tomorrow. Maybe. I might change my mind based on current events. If anything happens in current events, I might instead talk about that tomorrow. And maybe that is what we'll see. Right now, red pill is the tentative topic for tomorrow. But again, I'm always paying attention to X because I'm supporting Elon Musk. Not really. But I pay attention to X to find out what's going on. And if something happens in the news that makes for a better topic tomorrow, then I'll talk about that. But I'll eventually get around to it. So red pill may be coming next. If you love this one, I will see you all next. Sugar said he took the yellow pill. What's the yellow pill? I don't even know what that means. So we will talk about that. And someone said black pill. And make sure you are following my YouTube channel. That link is in my profile on TikTok. Follow me on Instagram. The link is also in my profile on TikTok. I have a show that comes out every day. It's not as long as this. It's about 20 minutes an episode. It's called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple or Spotify. I think more people listen to Spotify than Apple. I listen on Apple, but a lot of people listen on Spotify. This is the show. It looks like this. Just look for that image. Work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, D-R-E. My last name is Baldwin, B-A-L-D-W-I-N. That's where you can get that. I got a call at 11 o'clock. I got to eat lunch before that, and I got to go to the bathroom. Everybody have a great Tuesday. This is not a joke. This is real. I will be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great Tuesday. We are out of here. Work on your game. Appreciate you. Thank you, moderators, for your help. We out. Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow.